All right. That was my fault. I thought I was on the stage and I wasn't. If you can hear my voice trigger, drop a 1 for me. I apologize for being muted. Um, as I wait to hear back from Trigger, let me pull up what we're discussing tonight. Again, if you guys can hear me, okay, Trigger dropped a 1. Appreciate that. Let me just get right to it because I'm late. Tonight we're going to be discussing how we desperately need African urban planning. I have 2 prompts together for that. Last week it was supposed to be like this, sister, and think about nation building. So I saw this when I joined the 2. We're going to talk about hygiene. It's deeply cultural and tells you a lot about civilizational development. We're going to talk about Julius Malema, sentenced to 5 years in prison in firearm discharge case. We're going to talk about the immigrants are taking away the citizenship of the British. Wild. And we're going to talk about not only a fetish, status is also a factor in mixed race relationships. I want to thank everyone who donated or contributed, I should say, topics for Shoot the Breeze. Make sure you join the Discord if you haven't already. Submit your topics so that we can discuss things of interest to some of you as well. We're going to start the show officially now. On the other side, I'm going to drop Shoot the Breeze topic number 1, as well as introduce any and all panelists tonight. So please stay tuned. Do me a favor in the meantime, hit the like button, share the show on social media, invite a friend to check out what we do here every Saturday night. Please stay tuned.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio. Welcome to the Bitter Medicine Podcast, where it's all about Black empowerment. Our show focuses on Black news and entertainment, arts, science, economics, history, people, and strategies that uplift, empower, and motivate Africans within the diaspora. And now your host, whose favorite color is black, Goku.
Welcome back to the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I am your host, Koku. Just want to remind you guys before we get the show rolling that this show is part of a podcast network called KWAZ Radio. There are other shows on the network you are invited to tune into.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Peace, family. This is Oni, inviting you to listen to the Pro-Black Perspective, where Black problems are addressed with Black solutions.
Greetings, fam. Tune in to The Learning Curve with me, the Revolutionary Matron on KWAZ Radio.
You are listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAC Radio.
Yes, indeed. Make sure you check out Brother Bakari, BBN Network. Make sure you check out Consider Cheek, also known as Rum in the Bush. Make sure you check out the Forecast Radio. Make sure to pick up his book, which is titled The History of Racism, A Guide to White Supremacy. Make sure you picked it up on Amazon. And if you have picked it up, let us know that you picked it up. That'll be cool, too. And last but not least, Kofi, the Black Critic. Make sure you're following all of those guys. You know what, too, man? I don't say it. But make sure you guys are following each other, too. Make sure if anything happens, we can the information can be conveyed amongst each other. Buana's in the chat says, give him 5 minutes. All good. Daily affirmation by Pauline says, good evening. Thank you for coming through. Nelly says, good evening, Bitter Meds fam. You also say, what's up to Nell and Daily Affirmations for giving those greetings. Also give greetings to Provide Triggers for Evolution, who says greetings. And of course, Trigger Happy was the first person to be in the live stream chat tonight. Shout out to Trigger as well. So shout out to all of you for being here. I really do appreciate it. I know Buano says give him a few minutes, but you know what? The show has to go on in the meantime, so I'm just going to get right into it. The Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 tonight. Shoot the Breeze topic number 1 says, be like this, sister, and think about nation building. We desperately need African urban planning. This is why I put 2 prompts together. I think it'll work out just fine. Gotta find okay, I got it. So I'm sharing my screen with you guys. You guys should be able to see my screen as well. Let me just close this out and check back, make sure it's there. Okay, so you guys can see my screen. This is a tweet from NZ. It says Africans should be doing videos like this and make it a form of protest. I love what this Ghanaian lady is doing here. So we'll play it and then we'll discuss it.
If we converted this storm drain into a transport channel like Venice or Thailand, let's get into it. Accra's traffic problem isn't just that there are too many cars. It's that we rely almost entirely on roads, and those roads are full. We don't just need more roads. We need another way to move people. Here's an idea. Accra already has these long stormwater drain corridors. What if, instead of seeing them as fish channels, we upgraded parts of them into canal-like transport channels? Not everywhere, not all at once. We start small. A stretch like this in Dome is perfect because it already sits inside major flood control and drainage plants, and it already moves through some of the busiest corridors in Accra. Because even one modest pilot on this one Dome stretch could move up to extra 4,000 people a day without adding a single car to the road. It doesn't replace trucks or buses, it supports them. Think of it as opening a new highway, but on water. But Amma, this all sounds great. But how's it now? From some boat and call it innovation? Well, I'm glad you asked. You have to prepare the corridor. Sanitation, waste interception, and stormwater management are a must to get it right. Because if we do, we are also solving drainage and flooding in the city. Hey, Accra, another video. So here's the plan. Step 1, open up the channel. You dredge and desilt the channel so the water flows properly again, because no flow means no transport. Step 2, stop the trash before it arrives. You install trash traps and floating barriers upstream so the plastic waste doesn't keep coming in. And this needs daily removal. No excuses. Step 3, clean and stabilize the water. You reduce stagnant sections to improve flow, and you treat hotspots. Because if you can board it like a trough, people will use it. Step 5, use the right boats. That is small, shallow draft commuter boats. Low speed, high frequency, reliant, very boring, but very efficient. And now, the harsh truth. The real project is cleaning, managing, and stabilizing the corridor. Because if you can do that, you're essentially doing more than building a transport system. You are taking one of Accra's most neglected spaces and turning it into working infrastructure. And if it works, you replicate it across other corridors, and suddenly you're moving tens of thousands of people daily. So the real question is, do we keep fighting for space? Or do we use the infrastructure we already have differently? What do you think? Could this work in your African city? Let us know in the comments. Thank you. Bye. Let's talk.
I like that a lot. I agree with Trigger as well. Trigger in the chat says very intelligent sister right here. I got to look more into her. I don't know her background. And I don't know if she's on YouTube. I've only seen stuff on X for her. I've only seen stuff on X for her, so I gotta look into it. Before I go to the, you know what? I'm gonna go to the second video for the continuity. So this is another. Let me share this tab. So this is another. Hold on a second, y'all. Y'all know the deal. This sound thing disconnects every time I do it, so forgive me. Let me reshare. All right. So this is another poster called Without History. It says, really love what she is doing. Have to save African cities practically. Let me just double check, make sure you guys are seeing my screen. Great. You guys can see my screen. I'm going to play this video and I'll introduce my panelists and we'll discuss.
What if Accra's biggest development projects, the next decade, used to feel normal, but now they feel like luxury? In the name of development, we've cut down trees to build hot houses, hot streets, and hotter cities. And then we're surprised when Accra feels like an oven. Right now, Accra's tree cover is only 10%. Compare that to cities like Johannesburg, where it's 20 to 25%, or Singapore, where it's 40 to 50%. Now, a livable city should be 20 to 30%. World class, 40% and above. And that's where we should be aiming in the next 10 to 15 years. World class. Because trees are not just decoration. Have you seen how the sun is hitting me? They are shade, cooling, and honestly, sometimes survival. Now, if we're cutting trees this fast, then we need to plant them even faster. Now, normally, this is where someone says, government should plant more trees. Let's be honest. Government alone is not planting millions of anything. So here's a different idea. What if this wasn't a government project? What if this was a citizen-led citywide challenge? Introducing the 5 million tree challenge. Every household, every school, every church, every business, every community center. You plant and it counts, not in a research or report, but on a live public map. Now imagine opening your phone and seeing your streets, your neighborhood, your school, and how many trees you've planted. Are you guys seeing this wind? This is from the trees. Now imagine seeing that your neighborhood is behind. What do? You plant. Now we add leaderboards, greenest school, greenest district, greenest neighborhood. And this isn't charity. Now it's a challenge. And we don't reward people with small money. Winning neighborhoods will get upgrades to their roads, street lights, their playgrounds, anything that they want. Visible upgrades. So now trees are not just good, they are useful. Then we remove friction completely. Seedlings should be everywhere. Schools, church, fuel station, coconut lady down the road. And we plant the right trees. Big canopy trees like rain trees for roads and public spaces. Fast resilient trees like neem for homes and streets. Wide layered trees like almond for shade and beauty. Not all trees are equal. Some will give you shade in 3 years, some will give you shade in 20 years. So we have to be smart, plant smart. So let's do the math. If every household in Accra planted 2 to 3 trees each, that would mean up to 5 million new trees. And this is without government intervention or expansion year 2. So then imagine if government then also mandated that every 10 meters there's a tree on both sides of the road. That's another 2 million trees. Now we're getting to that 20 to 30% livable city. But you know, this cannot work if you are planting trees on one side and you're cutting them on another side. So this only works if we are protecting the trees that we have and planting more. What do you think? Could this work in your African city? Let us know in the comments. Let's talk. Bye.
We're ready to make this a reality. Come join us. Tap the link in bio to join the BFAT movement to green our cities and stay tuned for updates.
I had a similar thought as that second video. For my own hometown, I was thinking if you could inspire the people to, urban upkeep, keep the streets up to, like keep the roads nice, weed down the yards that have overgrown and been neglected. And the government should kind of create a system to kind of reward the different constituencies, for example, for being best kept, and make it kind of a friendly competition, just like what she described. And it's interesting to see how, when you're thinking about
movements to green our cities and stay tuned.
When you're thinking about the issues, you realize other people in other places are thinking similarly as well. So that's two real good videos from this young sister. Like I said, I would like to learn more about her. Trigger Happy says she might have a TikTok. I'll look into her as well. She cooks heavily with the second video. You can even apply this with people wearing suits in humid climates. LOL. Yeah, she does have a TikTok. I followed her the other day, actually. He said, I was looking into Amazon groups lately, and one thing Brazilian loggers do is cut down so many trees. What that does is actually increase mosquito attacks and animal attacks. In general, he says trees give habitats to animals, which is why there needs to be a constant replanting of trees. Lastly, Trigger Happy says, in Africa especially, it was normal to have planting trees in your backyard too. Gardening needs to be mandatory in schooling, or at least communal gardening. Absolutely. Wonderful thoughts there, Trigger Happy. Let me introduce Buana this week. Buana, how are you this week?
I'm good, Coco. How are you, brother?
I'm hanging in there, man. I'm hanging in there. Any
Yeah,
sort of souvenir?
I saw the second one, but I get the gist of it.
Oh,
Um,
right.
I think it's a great idea, Coco. The idea of urban planning and the use of nature and shrubbery to assist, because the trees actually does do a lot of things in terms of keeping the place cool, having a place to sit, especially for the elderly. Sometimes, we used to sit under the trees at school sometimes when the classrooms used to get too hot in the summer. So there's value to the usage of a tree and the uses of nature. And I really agree with that. I don't want to sound like a bar humbug, Coco, because I know sometimes you say I sound like a bar humbug, but just think about it. Just consider it. The only issue that I have in terms of this urban planning and the use of trees and shrubbery is it has to be maintained and well kept and kept up. Because what usually happens around here is the overgrowth. Sometimes when the government don't assist in cutting down the overgrown trees that sometimes grown in the road and stuff, like sometimes they'll take years to come back. And I believe that the people should step in if they have the equipment to manage trees from getting in the roads and interfering with power lines and things of that nature. And also and the thing with maintenance, when you have heavy storms and hurricanes, sometimes the branches could be a bit of an issue when these things are not properly maintained and well kept. And that's the only issue that I would have with in terms of dealing with nature. Because I'm an advocate in that, and I also I'm an advocate in terms of having areas, the best well kept area get certain benefits, certain things if they have the best areas. It used to be a time, Coco, where over the hill used to be some of the most well kept places in Nassau, and uh, because back in the day, the elderly or the our older people had a pride in ownership. And it was really only when these houses started being rented out to other people where these areas start to fall into disrepute. It used to be a time you couldn't go in certain places, even quote unquote poor areas in the Bahamas, and them places used to be spick and span because the people who lived in those areas owned the houses that they lived in. And when they start renting out, you start seeing the mismanagement of these areas, and some of us became even slumlords. But needless to say, I do believe in growing with nature, but I believe that there is a maintenance element that should be kept up with, because sometimes with nature can get out of hand, especially when you don't keep up with it.
What I would add to that, and one I know exactly what you mean because I come from over the hill, and I can tell you something, man. My grandfather and grandmother them, they used to get up early in the morning, 4-day as they used to call it, right? 4-day in the morning, and they used to rake and sweep and clean up in front of the yard. When summertime came, ask daily affirmations by Paulie. When summertime came, now so the Bahamas get really hot and it can get dry. My grandfather take buckets of water, swash down the road and the dirt and stuff like that, so the dust could keep down. So you're right; those older folks did take a pride in maintaining the area. And you're right again. When a lot of those older folks died out, and those houses started to get empty or started to be rented out, folks don't see the what's the term I'm trying to find? Folks don't see the responsibility of keeping up those areas. But like this video, no, like Trigger Happy mentioned, one of the reasons why there's so much mosquitoes and all this kind of stuff, because people got these yards overgrown, old cars, old vessels that can hold water from the rain or what have you, and all this kind of stuff. And what I liked about the video from this sister, I'm going to play the first video again too, because I think that's important. We don't really have that capability so much in where we're from, but in terms of the first video. But the thing about it is, if you get the people thinking along the lines of we got to do community work, then it's not as laborious as some might think. If everyone is chipping in, hey, pick up that garbage, let's sweep here. This person, this yard is left here neglected. Let's cut down this bush, because not only for the things we mentioned already, but it's also, as you know, in Nassau, is also a hazard in terms of people setting up to rob you and all this kind of thing like that. So let's do these things. And what I would like people to start doing, what I like African people, Black people to start doing, is you start the work. And then you go to the government and say, listen, this is what we do over here. And we would like y'all assistance to make this a program across the nation, et cetera, et cetera. There's a day in, is it Ghana or Nigeria? Or maybe both. But there's a day in certain communities in those places where everyone comes out and they cut down the bush, they fix a road, they, what have you. Really and truly, it's about people power. This idea of sitting down waiting for the government all the time. Now, some things you'll need the government because you might need bigger machines, right? But there's things that we can do, and there's things that we ought to do. One of the things I can't believe we don't do more of is plant more fruit trees around. When I was home last time, for those of you in the chat who might not know, there's a fruit called guava. My aunt was telling me you can't find guava that much around anymore. So there's like a dessert we make called guava duff that people start using. Buana might remember. People start using, what is it, banana or strawberry or something like that? I think it's banana or something people use.
Yeah, guava duff. You know what I eat cocoa? You know how long I eat a guava or ganep? I see a ganep tree for so long. Lord have mercy. I haven't seen a ganep tree in ages.
That's a shame, Buana. Buana, we used to go around raiding people tree and all kind of stuff. People used to, them big adults would be like, I will throw hot piss on you if I catch you in my tree. Like it used to be around, and I can't believe that we ain't taking time to, you eat the mango, you suck the mango, throw that seed in the ground, and let that thing grow. Guava, it's insanity. But we've just become this complacent set that just sit back and we don't caretake anymore. We don't caretake the culture. We don't caretake the community. And I think that's a shame. And if you don't caretake, that means you ain't going to innovate. If you don't caretake, it means you won't innovate. So I'm going to play the first video that Buana didn't see. And I think this is very smart what this young lady was talking about here. So you guys, for who may have come in late, we'll play it again.
If we converted this storm drain into a transport channel like Venice or Thailand, could you ride it? Let's get into it. Accra's traffic problem isn't just that there are too many cars. It's that we rely almost entirely on roads, and those roads are full. We don't just need more roads. We need another way to move people. Here's an idea. Accra already has these long stormwater drain corridors. What if, instead of seeing them as waste channels, we upgraded parts of them into canal-like transport channels? Not everywhere, not all at once. We start small. A stretch like this in Dome is perfect because it already sits inside major flood control and drainage plants, and it already moves through some of the busiest corridors in Accra. Because even one modest pilot on this one Dome stretch could move up to extra 4,000 people a day without adding a single car to the road. It doesn't replace truck roads or buses, it supports them. Think of it as opening a new highway, but on water. But Amma, this all sounds great, but how is it practical? You can't just dump some boats in here and call it innovation. How about you ask? You have to prepare the corridor. Sanitation, waste interception, and stormwater management are a must to get it right. Because if we do, we are also solving drainage and flooding in the city. Hey, flooding in Accra. Another video. So here's the plan. Step 1, open up the channel. You dredge and desilt the channel so that water flows properly again. Because no flow means no transport. Step 2, stop the trash before it arrives. You install and flow barriers upstream so the path coming in. And this needs daily removal. No excuses. Step 3, clean and stabilize the water. You reduce stagnant sections, you improve flow, and you treat hotspots. That means less smell, fewer mosquitoes, and a corridor that people can actually use. Step 4, you build simple commuter stops. Just clean, safe, well-lit boarding points at important transport nodes. Because if you can board it like a trough, people will use it. Step 5, use the right boats. That is small, shallow draft commuter boats. Low speed, high frequency, reliant, very boring, but very efficient. And now, the harsh truth. The real project is cleaning, managing, and stabilizing the corridor. Because if you can do that, you're essentially doing more than building a transport system. You are taking one of Accra's most neglected spaces and turning it into working infrastructure. And if it works, you replicate it across other corridors, and suddenly you're moving tens of thousands of people daily. So the real question is, do we keep fighting for space? Or do we use the infrastructure we already have differently? What do you think? Could this work in your African city? Let us know in the comments. Thank you. Bye. Let's talk.
Yeah, Bon, what are your thoughts on that?
Coco, I wish we had urban planners like this. And also, I wish we had the political will of people to have buy-in to things like that. See, the Bahamas is a place that if you say that you are independent, then you're supposed to have the independence of thought. The independence of thought, you learn or you have an idea how you would like your city to be structured, how you would like the people to be able to move around, and the political will to get these big item things done. We still, one of the biggest issues since you was a child in the Bahamas, we have an issue of flooding, especially when it rains heavily, right? And you would think that some person who went to school for environmental engineering or things like that would go to the government and say, hey, here's an idea to solve the flooding crisis that befalls us every time in the rainy seasons in the Bahamas. And the people just sitting, it's like we between here and the deep blue sea. And this sister is trying to solve on a practical level issues that may befall her city in terms of it being there's the degree of congestion. You say, well, this is another way of traveling through the city and getting from point A to point B. When I used to live in England, England did the same thing too. They had barges where if they wanted to get from one city to another city, you could either travel by a train, by a car, or even if you have barges like small boats and things like that, to be able to go from one area to another area. Privately, people own their own boats. This is how they travel through the city of England or the UK. And I think that this is a brilliant idea for people like us in terms of managing the countries and how to structure it in such a way that there's an ease of doing certain things within the country itself. In terms of cleaning, I think that the city that we had an idea of cleaning and using the garbage as energy. I don't know where that idea got. That idea got up and spoke. But Kagame in Rwanda, he has the civilians, the people in the area, they have a day of cleaning where everyone, it's mandatory that everyone should come out and clean their neighborhood. And you are conditioning the minds of the people to think in a certain way. Cleanliness is first in our society. So you're kind of restructuring the thinking of people. So whether they in Rwanda or outside of Rwanda, they have a culture of cleanliness. So like I say, some of these are small ticket ideas that you could implement in your society. Some of these are a little bit bigger, where in terms of money and in terms of political will, I think that it'll be very good in restructuring these old colonial countries, because the British they don't have a monopoly on how you could structure society where people could live well together, But she has the vision, and I hope that she ain't the only person with these kinds of vision, and I hope that the leaders have an ear to listen to people like these when they come around, because they don't always come around. They come around every term, and sometimes the numbers are very small. But I hope that the leaders have intelligence enough to listen to these kinds of people and would like to implement the ideas that they have. The roads that we have in the Bahamas are so narrow. They're not built. They're not built for the kind of cars that's purchased, the American cars that's purchased to drive on Bahamian roads. This is a problem. This is an issue, and I could get into a whole lot of nonsensical things. But this prompt is specifically for nation building, And I wish that we had more civil engineers and environmental engineers where the leaders have a deference to try to implement these kinds of ideas to make it more comfortable for the citizens of a country to live in. I think that these are forward-thinking people, and you can't let these people just come, present ideas, and just pass on to the next political whatever party who does nothing for another 30 years. I think it's a very good thing to do, Coco.
I was talking to Brother Bakari maybe 2 weeks ago, and I was talking about Julian Brown, the kid the young black American guy who made a apparatus to use plastic waste to make gasoline from plastic. And I was telling Bakari 2 weeks ago, I was like, a great thing for that kid would be, say, countries like ours, or anywhere in the Caribbean or what have you, where there's so much waste, particularly plastic waste and stuff like that, where you clean up the neighborhoods, you send this plastic waste to one of these refineries that he has built, and you do two things at once. You create the plasticine, and you also clean up the neighborhoods. In fact, I had a video I posted on the Discord with Julian Brown speaking about how there's different types of plastic and how in reality, like in America, they don't even really recycle that plastic. That goes into a landfill somewhere because there's different types of plastic, etc. But you take that kid and you say, hey, okay, we're going to start an initiative around this plasticine. We're going to put a community competition, different areas, different constituencies, in our case, Warner. You guys clean up the plastic waste. You send it to this kid over here out in Carmichael Road or something like that, and he's going to turn this waste into a usable fuel. I think that's something that we should be looking into, and a kid like that, a young man like that, you give him somewhere to stay, etc. for his efforts, you can make that happen. But the people is really the government, but people don't recognize that. Take the time, get the people organized and thinking in these manners. And like she said in the other video, you can make it a friendly competition where there's a leaderboard. You could teach the children something, get the children enthusiastic, to have bragging rights about their neighborhood, etc., etc., etc. But we're not doing anything. Real quick, I had a video, Buana, and I should have added it to this prompt, and I forgot. Frank Zanu. Here comes Frank Zanu again. Frank Zanu has a video where he's talking to two young African kids, I think, on a podcast. And he says something like, what is the word for maintenance in your African language? And they were like, well, there's no one-to-one translation. And he was like, yeah, there's no word for it because we don't think about maintenance. Buana, do you think as African people, we have a thing where we don't think about maintenance? We only think about repair?
Absolutely. Well, I don't know what it would. I don't know what it would be in the Bahamian parlance, but I think that the old people had that idea because they had something in terms of a pride of ownership. So when they get something, they would have it for 30 and 40 years. Your grandmother probably had dishes and clothes before she died, what she'd have had for 30 and 40 years, because there's something in us where we had a pride of ownership. You have to maintain these things for a long time. You have to upkeep these things for a long time. Maybe because you don't have enough money to buy another one, or maybe because this is something that you created and you want to be able to maintain these things for a very long time. We built things for things to last a long time. So when we did things, we did it correctly, so much so that you could use a chair that was built in 1970, and that same rocking chair you built in 1970, your grandchildren would still be able to use. So in terms of building a thing properly to last and not abusing it so much so that it'll fall into disrepute after 1 year and 2 year and 3 years. But in terms of maintenance, that we had this idea of pride and ownership. So the upkeep was important to the minds of the Bahamian at the time. Now we live in a fast food world where something break or something, you have a hole in your shoe, you don't go to the shoe man to sew it up no more. You go on Amazon and you just buy another one. You buy another one instead of going to the shoe man and having repair it because you want something to be able to last. I don't know where that went. I don't know, because we bought into the culture of consumerism so much, where something seemed to break, a little small thing, instead of maintaining, we're going to just buy another one. Don't worry about it, just buy another one. So I don't know where that consumerism kind of caused the idea of maintenance to wane in our hearts and minds. But I do believe we should get back to that. I don't know what the African word is for it, but I do think back in the day we used to have this idea of the pride and ownership and upkeep.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, Pinewood Gardens, as I think you were alluding to, but all in that. So I remember it would rain, and as kids, you would have to walk through the middle of the street because some puddles were so bad, like up to your ankles and stuff like, above your ankles and stuff like that. So yeah, I definitely know what you was referring to. Provide triggers for evolution says there needs to be a collective cleaning program in Ghana for sure, particularly in the beach areas. Trigger happy. He agrees with that. Sister Cheryl is out there saying no excuses though. I like that. Cheryl says she's enthusiastic. I love that. Yeah, the sister is very enthusiastic. Trigger is talking about extraction and mining and all that. That's cool. Trigger says a day of cleaning is a great start. Definitely want it to be where it becomes a permanent culture. Day of cleaning definitely needs to be a start. Yeah, I don't know what it would take, but we need, just like how we talk about you have to hit the streets and hit the pavement here in the States and all that stuff, we got to hit the pavement in these African nations to take some pride in the upkeep and the cleaning and the cleanliness of the country and stuff like that. Sister Cheryl says they used to have cleaning day in her neighborhood. That was more than 30 years ago. LOL. Trigapi says whoever dominated recycling will make lots of money. There's a business right there and will help us environmentally in the future. Hopefully we get to a point where plastic is abandoned too. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to that point as well. But if I was in charge of the country where I'm from, I'm telling you, I would watch that kid and I'd say, man, you come and help us clean up, keep these beaches free of all this plastic waste and all this kind of stuff. Sister Cheryl says there was a man-made microbe designed to eat plastic. Let me find the story. Yeah, actually, there's a mushroom actually that feeds off of plastic and breaks it down as well. Real Black Gentleman, RBG's in the chat. He says, I wear 20-year-old clothes and 10-year-old shoes. Bonner made a point about the shoes and stuff. I remember I used to go all the time. I used to go to the tailor shop to get pants darned and all that stuff, or downed as we say. And I used to go to the shoe man to re-stick the bottom of shoes and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely know what Bonner's talking about. But nowadays, like Bonner said, people just throw them things away and buy one new. Shout out to Brother Bakari in the chat. Says peace and Black African power, Black African family. Shout out to you. Lastly, Provide Trigger says plastic containers for food storage is problematic too, and it's often carcinogenic. Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, we have all this information. What Bob Marley them saying, the abundance of water, the fool is still thirsty. We have all this information. We know all of this stuff, but it's to create the initiative within the people to really go out there and say, we're going to do something to change this. And I don't know why it hasn't been done, especially in nations where we're the majority people. You know what I mean? Bonnie, you have any last thoughts on this front?
I would tell the sisters. I would tell the sisters. You watch the man who is who takes care and has pride in the way that he gets handles himself. First of all, how he like, how, has the clothes, how he manages these things, how, his shoes. If he is able to maintain certain things on a small level, he'll be able to maintain you as well. You know, he can just get rid of you the first sign of cracks in the relationship. He can try to see how he can repair it because he have a culture of doing that in his own personal way and his own personal self, so he can maintain you in the same way instead of trading you and then getting another one. You know.
That's a fact. The same way, fellas, about their shoes and all that type of stuff, you guys, us guys, need to be the same way about our environment as well. Um, Provide Trigger says the leadership is simply not there. If Kagami can do it, so can the others. Yeah, I'm a believer in. I've become a believer in don't rely on the government to do that. A lot of times, the people who are in government, they're not in areas where uh, these types of things affect them. So it doesn't matter to them. It's for you to, it's for the people, especially, and I'm talking to the men in particular now. It's for the men to come together and say, nah, man, we can't have this yard full of bush here. It's a danger. It's a safety issue. It's an environmental issue in terms of what kind of hazards will flock to that kind of stuff. We gotta take that leadership there. There's other things that women can do. You know what I mean? But that type of thing, we supposed to be encouraging that ourselves, man.
Yeah, I
With that
agree with
said,
that.
let me go to shoot. Yeah,
Just briefly, Koku. In terms of
yeah, go ahead.
Koku mentioned in terms of Koku mentioning the men, you know, I am a person who maintain my yard, okay, and in the community I live in, because I started doing that, all the you see other young men doing the same thing as too. So we have a saying in the Bahamas: "Monkey see, monkey do." So people feel away with because they see me dumping the leaves and dumping the cut. I don't have high Haitians to cut my yard. I do it my goddamn self. So when people see that, so well, we could do this, we should do the same thing too. So it catch on like a virus. Not only does bad things catch on in the community, good things is catch on as well. And when people see you doing it, they're gonna feel guilty to do it as well, to try to do it as well. You know, that's a thing we have with black people. Once they see something that somebody else doing it, they go and copy it. So copy good things in the neighborhood, and hopefully the other people surrounding you will want to copy the same things as well, especially for the men.
Well said, Juan. Well said. Just real quick, I remember. I don't see it in the states so much, but I remember there was a time, like in Nassau on a Sunday, you'll see guys wash their car, wax it down, like wax it, and have it like wax for a couple of hours before they go and shine it again. That was a thing, and you used to go to different. I mean, in my area, you used to go to different blocks and see guys all around washing their car and waxing it and stuff like that. I don't know if that still happens, but like Buana said, monkey see, monkey do. So that's something that intelligent brothers who have some consciousness about yourself, it's something for you all to start doing. You know what I mean? Let's go to Shoot the Breeze topic number 2. Shoot the Breeze topic number 2 is kind of related to the first topic. Hygiene is deeply cultural and tells you a lot about civilizational development. This takes us to TikTok. Yes, yeah, TikTok. We make sure you guys. Okay, I think you guys can see my screen now, right? Yeah. Computer moving a little slow, so bear with me. We're gonna play the video. It's not that long. It's a TikTok video. We'll play it and then we'll discuss it.
They brought modernity like development and the same. Hygiene is cultural. And while those descendants of Europeans throughout the world and those descendants of Africans throughout the world have adopted different hygienic practices, we have to ask ourselves, where does that come from? Do you guys know that in West Africa, they had developed modern plumbing, hot water facilities in home, public bathrooms for everyone, not just the rich, and sanitation, while at the same time, the royal family of Versailles and people in London were throwing their sewage outside of their windows into the city, and it was called the Big Stink.
Sensational.
So when we ask ourselves how we got to a place where people commonly say that Africa was undeveloped and thanks to European colonization, development, and sewage, that in order to absolve themselves from what they actually did on the continent. In 1817, a British explorer named Thomas Bowditch was sent to Kumasi, which was then the capital of the Ashanti Empire in present-day Ghana. He was there on a diplomatic mission. He was so shocked when he got there, he had to write it down because he knew no one back home would believe him. What he found was a city divided into 77 wards, 27 named streets, some of them 100 yards wide, two-story buildings with indoor plumbing, toilets that were flush with boiling water on the second floor, meaning they had figured out water pressure, pipe systems, multi-level waste removal in 1817. That had probably been developed a century prior. And Bowditch notes that in Kumasi, also had public toilets on the outskirts of the city, meaning this just wasn't for wealthy people. These people were super cleanly and hygiene was important to them. He wrote that the streets never had sewage, never, unlike London. London was the capital of the empire that was about to colonize most of the world in the name of civilization. It used the Thames River as a toilet, human waste, animal waste, industrial runoff, all of it going into the same river that 8 private water companies are pulling drinking water from, effectively poisoning themselves and getting themselves sick. By 1857, 250 tons of raw sewage is entering the Thames every single day. And in the summer of 1858, a heat wave hit. The water level in the Thames dropped and centuries worth of waste starts baking in the sun. History calls this the Great Stink. Bowditch documented Ashanti plumbing in 1817. The Great Stink happened 41 years later. The British weren't more advanced, they were more aggressive. And that distinction matters because the entire justification for colonialism, the civilizing mission, the white man's burden of it all, rested on the idea that African people were primitive or savage, that they needed to be taught how to build, how to govern, how to live. But the Ashanti had named streets and indoor plumbing, while London was a public health catastrophe. The British were so averse to hygiene, they were throwing their own sewage into their drinking water supply. The savage Africans providing toilets for everyone, including the poor. When the British finally arrived, they burned Kumasi to the ground in 1874. They didn't destroy a primitive settlement. They destroyed a city that contradicted everything they claimed about Africa. They destroyed the evidence, but Bowditch wrote it down before they could burn it. They did the same thing with the Benin Wall, but the Benin Wall is one of the greatest wonders of human works to ever be built in the world, just second to the Great Wall of China. And the British couldn't get into the Benin Wall, so what did they do? They bombed it. I find it so disingenuous for people, especially those descendants of Europeans who always say that Africa was mud huts and no development, and that you guys would be in huts without us. You wouldn't have anything. When in fact, while the majority of Europe was in the dark ages, places like Timbuktu were thriving with universities and people trying to fly. And the African development was different, but it was developed in its own way. And Europeans only value Egypt. So they in their minds, the only developed place in Africa was Egypt and nowhere else. Meanwhile, the majority of the pyramids in the world are not even in Egypt. They're south of Egypt in Nubia. The playbook of colonialism is to rewrite history to make yourself the victor and absolve yourself from all of the pain you inflicted and the violence that you bestowed upon people. Coming into West Africa, burning the cities down, bombing the cities, destroying everything, flattening everything, and then documenting Africans of not having any development. genuine capital, diabolical. But
Diabolical. That's a good way to end that video. That's a good way to end that video. It is diabolical. It's something to learn from as well, and it's also a part of propaganda too. Because you have white folks, some little white guy on the internet today will tell you, "Oh, you guys didn't even have 2-story buildings or whatever the fuck it is they're trying to say." And the reality is, like, we had a lot of this stuff, man. It's just that their ancestors destroyed it, then lied, and they believed the lie, and we come along and believe the lie as well. Oh, there's a couple of messages in the chat already. Okay, so Sister Cheryl in the chat said, as a matter of fact, Euros were so unhygienic, they made the indigenous of North America and many other places sick just by coming and mute your mic, please. As a matter of fact, Euros were so unhygienic, they made the indigenous of North America and many other places sick just by coming in contact with them. Trigger says African urban planning was elite. Sister Cheryl says the white women were and still are the worst at hygiene. Lastly, Trigger says this is why it's significant in pointing out that the Moors taught them to bathe, and this still didn't really impact them culturally. Good stuff from the chat. Keep it coming. I'll try to read as many comments as I can. In the meantime, let me welcome in a few new panelists. Sister Cheryl, how are you this week?
I'm good. How y'all doing?
Good. Thanks for coming through. Before I come back to Sister Cheryl, let's welcome in Ike and Fire. Ike and Fire, how are you this week?
Wagwan bossy, respect, Miss Cheryl. Quaco, respect to you.
Yeah, it's Koku, man. You
Koku.
does that stuff. It's Koku. It's Koku. Anyway, let me start with Ike and Fire. Ike and Fire, did you see that video just now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what are your thoughts? Shoot the Breeze topic number 2, hygiene is deeply cultural and tells you a lot about civilizational development. What are your thoughts on what you just saw?
Of course, the Moors did bring that technology to Europe, but actually, that's just the smallest part of what the Moors did. The Moors built a lot of castles and also implemented dynasties, you feel me, and logos for their separate tribes and gave them official status on a educational level. Also, the Moors taught them science, how to extract gold from dust, all that type of stuff. So it was a lot of things that Black people brought to Europeans. Because they ruled them. They ruled for over 700 years. Sorry, sir. Go ahead.
No, continue. I thought you was done, but continue.
I was almost finished, but as I said, they ruled for more than slavery. Like, we undergoing 500 years the most of enslavement and occupation in Africa. You feel me? So they occupied Spain and Portugal and a lot of parts of Europe before, well, more than even the time of white colonization. Also, they brought Roman numerals. It's like they coming from Egypt sections and understanding Greeks and all of that stuff. So they brought these education through the North Africa. And but I don't really I, I don't I don't really totally respect the Moors only in those realm, but I don't really respect them. Um, you feel me? They're just ordinary people to me. But that's it. That's all I have to say about that.
All right, appreciate that. We'll talk about the malls in another time maybe, and you could express what your thoughts about it. Sister Cheryl, what do you take from this Shooter Breeze topic number 2? How hygiene is deeply cultural. I know you said in the chat you have stories, so talk about all of it.
Oh man, when the second question came up, I was like, uh-oh. I know where this is going. But like seriously, like if you ever, because I had the unfortunate experience of living with the Amu, like I've lived with them, I've roomed with them, and it definitely is a cultural thing. You can't even say it's like bigger than just saying, oh, they dirty or something like that, because like when I say Africans and Black people are different people, we are completely different people. Like in every sense of the word, like biologically, on a fundamentally biological like basis, we are different from them. And when you live with them, you get to see how. Because a lot of people are like, yeah, but I know some white people that are clean, and I know some Black people that are dirty, and that's not the point. The point is that culturally, like they I've had white people fight me down, telling me that you should not use a loofah, you should not use a rag to scrub your skin because they said it's going to make your skin dry. And most black people, when they hear that, they just like, huh? That would make no sense. You got to scrub your skin, right? After a long day of work, you got dirt that you can't see on your body. You gotta scrub your skin. That's cultural. We grew up being taught that you can't just put soap to your body, a bar of soap to your body and think that you're clean, right? That's insane to most black people. We're just like, what? And it doesn't matter if you're Caribbean or you're African American. You looking at that and you just like, you don't have nothing to exfoliate your skin. Excuse me, but it may sound crazy, and it sounds crazy to us, but their skin is different, their hair is different, like everything about them is different. They use different shampoo than we do. Okay, I know white people that will use dog shampoo for their hair, and I'm so serious. Like I'm not even joking. Even the shampoos that they have on the market today, um, they're all sulfur based. They're not, and it's not. It doesn't make them unclean. But if black people try using sulfur-based products in their hair and on our skin, it's a different reaction than when they use it because fundamentally we are different than them biologically. If you use sulfur-based products in your hair is going to dry out. That's why you need a conditioner, and if the conditioner is sulfur-based, you still screwed, and that's why black people have such a hard time with their hair. That's a little different topic, but it's still hygiene because you got to have your hair has to be clean. But yeah, they're different people, and more people try to do this humanity thing where we're all the same. We are different culturally, and so you say I hear a white person tell you that they don't bathe as often as they should, or they don't use rags, which is crazy to me. It's crazy. Like every black person I know at least uses a loofah, but for white people, remember, there's sulfur they're that's why some people say, and I don't like really to get into this type of thing, but they say like when a white person sweats, it smells a certain way because that's their biology. That's their sulfur based individuals. They're people, sure, but they're not they're different from Africans. Okay. We can't assume and do the same things that they do. And I think, yeah, like with the hygiene thing, I've had so many white people fight me down, talk about how it's stupid to do, but it's not to use certain things when you're cleaning yourself, but it's not stupid for them. And that's where we got to really pay attention about. That's where the biology comes in, and people don't really like to talk about that because all people want to talk about is, oh, we all human. So this is one of those things where it's we're just different. You can't fight it. You can't get around it by talking about how we're all human. We're just different, and I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, real quick. Thanks for that, Sister Shaw. Real quick too. One of the this is my opinion. One of the greatest tricks they play too. They'll call us monkeys and stuff, but they're the monkeys. If you look at their what do they call that again? The ascent of man or something. The ascent of they'll show you how they was crawling and was monkey like and became a man, but then they call us a monkey, right? But real quick, also something this guy talked about, and I don't want to gloss over it. There's proof that we're the first people on the planet. You know why there's proof of that? We've long time ago figured out you don't shit in the water that you drink. These guys, this guy mentioned the river Thames. The Buano would know more about than me. I assume these guys the river Thames. These guys was throwing shit and stuff in that, and that was where they was getting their water from. You ain't never heard nothing about no Africans shitting in no water. The whatever they bring up nowadays, that's a new thing that happened, and it's because of what they did to the continent. But you ain't never heard that before with African folk. That's how you know we're the first. We already figured out shit like that a long time ago. Real quick before I go to Buana, let me hit some of the chat. Real Black Gentleman says a wash ride. Yeah, we usually have wash rides. Earlier, Trigger Happy agreed with Ike, and he said, true, castles came from Africa. Many architectural structures around the Happy River region, the Nile region, can be deemed castles. Provide triggers for evolution. Shout out to that sister, well-traveled. She says the Moors were spectacular in their achievements in Andalusia, the south of Spain. If anyone hasn't and has the opportunity to visit La Alhambra, please do so. KW Dawn 7, shout out to my brother KW Dawn 7. He says Europe was the original shithole continent, contrary to popular belief. Yeah, that's a game that they tell you. Provide Trigger says hotels in Paris, Europe often do not have shower rides. I heard someone mention one time how if you go in some of those castles in France, I've never been, but they say if you go in some of those castles in France, you could still smell the stench from the draperies and stuff like that, which is why they kind of spray perfume and all that kind of stuff, which is what Provide Trigger says here. This is why perfume originated in Europe, because they tried to like cover that scent and their scent and stuff like that. This is Cheryl in the chat says, yep, when I went to Turkey, no wash rides. Interesting. She says they don't believe in lotioning their body after every washing. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, yeah, so many things we figured out before they did, but they destroyed the cities we built so they can keep the narrative going that we were underdeveloped. Lastly, he says the Benin Palace was destroyed and they made sure it was not built again. It's definitely an insecurity problem. Lastly, this is Cheryl in the chat says it doesn't smell that bad to them. This is cultural. Good commentary. Buana, you've seen and heard everything everyone else had to say. What say you to all of it?
Yeah, so I get started this way. So speaking of perfume, it's interesting Provide Triggers mentioned that because the Queen of England used to bathe once a year, okay? And it was an event. It was an event that she was taking a shower or bath once a year. So when the Spanish Queen saw the Muslims, when they see them taking ablution or they consider them bathing 5 times a day, they was thinking, well, these people must be There was heretics. What's going on? It's like, why are these people trying to bathe 5 times a day? It's like, what's that? What's that? Because they wasn't used to it. So the thing is, the president say that we have a culture. Well, we live in shithole areas. England used to be a shithole country. Literally. France. Where do you think the Black Plague started, or they call it the Black Death? This was really the result of rats being in these city centers and areas, carrying diseases from one person to another person to another person. It was they used to throw shit literally on the streets of the UK and stuff like that. This is where they had to get high heel shoes. The women don't know why these ideas are high heel shoes, because the shit was so stack high in the city streets to avoid getting your clothes, filled with shit and all kind of stuff. They had to develop these high heel bridges for their shoes to walk around. It was so crazy. It was they had a book. I can't find it for the life of me. The book was literally called Dirt, and it's called the hygienic culture of Europe or England or something like that. I saw the book years ago, and I really been trying to find it. I can't find it nowhere. But they had a culture that the hygiene was so poor and so bad in Europe. It was so bad in Europe that, like the sisters say, they had to develop things like perfume because of the stench. If the human body don't take a shower every once in a while, the body can stink. Naturally. But it's unfortunate that they take these uh, traditions to our places where we inhabit, and then structure society where you start to see the same kinds of things prevalent outside water latrines, shit latrines, where they don't clean up the latrine, where the shit just right there where the people are. And then they take the cameras to Nigeria and say, well, look how these people living. Well, they didn't structure those societies. Y'all structure those societies. The unfortunate thing is, when y'all left, they continued it and maintain it instead of getting rid of it completely and starting all over again from scratch. And like I say, some of these diseases that is born out of poor hygiene because of horrible urban, especially for these colonized countries. But I don't expect the parent to teach the child to do something different. The child to do exactly what the parent is doing. That's why you have to get rid of some of these parents in the minds of a lot of these African people. You have to get rid of them parents. But yeah, they had a culture of doing that. I hear some of these FBAs talk about what did the African contribute to the Americas? Inoculation. Inoculation. Well, not inoculation. Koku know a better word for it, where you develop a system where you could get rid of a virus or something like that, or a disease or something like that. I can't remember. Koku probably have the term for it. But the
It's
African vaccination. Vaccination. But for vaccination, there wouldn't be no United States of America. There would be no, because everybody will get sick and drop dead.
Can
Long
I
time
say
ago.
something?
Go ahead, sister.
But yeah, with the vaccination, I like that you brought that up though, because like you know how like when black people go and we want to, when you're making a little money, right? You want to send your child to a daycare, a real good daycare that has all the good resources and you know whatnot. Um, and I mean, all daycares require that you get vaccinations, but why? Because you come in contact with these children, with other children, right? But you got to remember, you got a whole culture of people who don't believe in bathing their children every day. So when they come home with all these types of stuff, this is why you have to get your child vaccinated. And absolutely, I would agree with that. But that is the reason, because you have this multiculturalism that's supposed to be so great. So when you put your child in a multicultural environment, and when it comes to hygiene, everybody's not the same. So I mean, if you want to run that risk as an African, doing that with your child, I mean, that's your child. But you got to keep in mind that's why hygiene. That's another reason why hygiene is important. You're keeping your children away from them.
Yeah. So vaccination was very important, central to development of the Americas. Because but for without vaccination, you would have no country called the United States, because the diseases would have killed them alone. The diseases would have killed us all, really and truly. So this idea of the Africans bringing, without that experience, you would have no the United States of America. So like I say, they say cleanliness is godliness. Hygiene is something that's very central, because we was talking about development and urban planning. Hygiene is very important to the human society or the development of a country. Very important. If the garbage man don't come in 2 weeks, you will see the importance of hygiene. You'll see the importance of hygiene. But that's really all I had to say. I don't know who else wanted to go, but I'll leave it there.
Yeah, that's yeah, these topics are complementary to one another. Part of urban development is cleaning, keeping your nations clean, free of pestilence and all that kind of stuff. And Bonner made a good point. The reason why the Native Americans was damn near wiped out, they didn't have vaccination. We were able to withstand it because we had that practice culturally already. Um, in the chat, Trick Happy says perfume probably didn't originate from them, meaning the Europeans, the French, etc. They mostly received that invention and covered themselves to compensate for not bathing. Provide triggers for evolution says, however, the Europeans have reversed this state of affairs through colonialism and the underdevelopment of Africa, where potable water is not scarce and plumbing challenges now exist even in urban areas. She goes on to say, I wonder about the prevalence of STDs then in Europe during that time. Well, hey man, uh, they definitely carried a bunch of syphilis and all that kind of stuff. I mentioned this the other week, or maybe it was last week. Again, when the small hats talk about they were put in these ovens and all this kind of stuff, the truth has come out that these were showers. And if you go and you look up the history of it, what Adolf and them was combating was they had a lice problem. When have you heard of a set of black people anywhere with a lice problem? Because these people was laying up with animals and had rats running, like Buana said, had rats running around them, and we just didn't do that kind of thing, you know. So definitely these guys had sexually transmitted diseases and all that kind of stuff. In fact, that's how they killed. That's how they wiped out the indigenous populations wherever they met them, right? Raped them and infected them with these STDs and stuff, some foreign stuff, you know. But definitely, urban planning goes hand in hand with hygiene, and it's something that we need to get back to. Again, like Dr. Bobby Wright would say, we are out of our African minds. I think Khalid Muhammad said the same thing. And this is more evidence of it. We're sitting around waiting for something to happen that really we're supposed to be the stewards of. We're supposed to be leaders of and take control of our communities, our health, our hygiene, our the way our nations are set up, etc. Does anyone want to add any last thoughts to this prompt?
Yes, Quarkle.
Yeah.
Yes, host. It's Quarkle, right, Big Boss?
It's Koku. It's the easiest thing to remember.
Koku.
Koku. Yeah. Go ahead.
Koku. I'm gonna have to speak to you more, Mr. Koku, if you may, to get it real good. But we were coordinated in English, so we have to be trying to get back to our Swahili and treat. You feel me? I think somebody trying to keep diseases prominent. That's what I think, because it's like there ain't no way these people claim to be doctors and can't heal nothing. They can't stop nothing from happening. All of the wicked are all of the treacherous diseases that we've ever heard of still is. In fact, new ones are added on. You feel me? So it's like somebody needs to disappear off this earth because somebody's keeping this thing, right? Look at HIV, right? It's easy to prevent, even if it cannot be cured. But somebody don't want to do something. It's like this. You go to the hospital and you heard that's how it goes. And there should be a system to say that, yo, if you are mm, um 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 tested and it's proven that you are a carrier or something, you get a handband or a band or a rubber band or a band to put around your ankles or something, where you don't have to show it to no one that's not personal to you. But it is illegal. It could be illegal not to show it to your personal people or people that's intimate to you. You feel me? So if you're going to deal with a man or a woman on an intimate level, these things must be displayed. And now people have choices whether they interact on an intimate level or not. You feel me? So what I'm saying is, like, somebody's not trying something. Why you have these loose people, or you found out they got it? Why you walking around like that? You feel me? Where nobody has evidence of whatever you're doing. You feel me? So I think somebody is doing something which is out of our power, and a lot of governments are in with it. Okay, one more thing. I hear that in Yemen, you have to get tested before you pass through the goddamn airport. You feel me? That's a whole Muslim country, underrated in this world. Still, they put up measures to keep these things away. You feel me? And we here having this thing spreading all over the goddamn country and community, all over the Western world. Who is trying to kill us all, man? Go ahead, my people.
I agree with you 1,000%. I think I this may sound, I don't know how people will take it, but since I was a kid, I was like, man, they need to brand people or something, concealed from the general public, but something that's identifiable. Once you get intimate with someone, you can be like, hey, hold on now. What's this brand you have on your chest here? You know what I mean? I actually agree with that. Funny enough, this past week, I forget which state it was in America. I think it was Chicago. One of those guys who could sign bills and stuff did something where they decriminalized the concept of, if you have HIV and you don't disclose it, but you infect others, that's not a criminal act anymore. And I think that might take off a little bit in the States here. So you're right. Pardon
me? You see what I'm saying? How can
Yeah.
someone do something like that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
No, I mean the man that's dropping the charges. How can someone think that way?
Yeah,
because
you're up to something.
Because
I'm sorry, Bon, real quick. What's funny is, I remember my grandmother telling me this. There was a time in different places where if you had leprosy, if you was a leper, you had to go over by yourself in some leper colony or something. You couldn't be around people with that. But for some reason, these guys allowed us. Well, it's not for some reason. I know the reason. We are all supposed to know the reason. They have weaponized.
Yeah.
They have weaponized diseases.
Yeah, if they have quarantine if they have quarantined the first 2-3 HIV victims, they would have found out all of them already and put them on an Epstein Island or something.
This like a rabbit hole discussion. But you know what? I do agree with you at Icon Fire. But I would say this. Now remember, now you're dealing with a capitalist economy. So what happened usually is the pharmaceutical companies, they pay the politician millions of dollars to ensure that thing is not legalized anymore. Because the more people who are infected, what they could do, they could pay for the medicines, they could pay for the
Yeah,
medication, and now the medications is so good now. You will be paying 30
yeah,
years to keep a person with HIV alive. And then when you scream,
yeah,
well, maybe these people should get tattooed and branded. You know what they can say? Human rights, human rights, human rights. You gotta do that. so, so
Brandon is crazy.
no, they can say human rights. They can say human rights. So, but I would say, see, Shirley's already done say that. Oh, you can't brand the people. You can't brand the people. But
no,
I would
man,
want to
No,
know.
it's hilarious.
no,
No,
you
it's
supposed
hilarious. No,
no,
I agree.
you,
I agree.
you supposed to put on you supposed to get a rubber band mark victim or something. You feel me? You're supposed to get something indicator, so you don't so people is educated about whatever you got going on. You feel me? And
I'd say I'd want a tattoo too. You know, Icon. I would want to like somebody to get a tattoo. But like I say, the people can start screaming
no,
human
human
rights,
rights,
human rights.
human
They can say
rights,
human rights,
human
human rights,
rights,
human rights,
human rights.
human rights, human rights, human rights. But
I
no,
say
but
you put on a rubber band, and then if you take it off to hide from someone intimate that you're going to be intimate with, then you're supposed to be executed for
gosh, oh
murder.
gosh, oh
You feel
gosh,
me? Oh
yeah.
yes, oh
No,
yes.
no, no,
It
no.
must be. Listen. The laws must be respected. You don't have to do. Listen, before the execution, you don't have to
Damn.
do it. You feel me? What I'm saying is like, okay, you were warned. You say, okay, if you do that, there's an execution clause. So that means you know. So if you do it, that means you want to be executed.
See, but
And that's how I see things.
the problem becomes right. Some people have more than one sexual partner. So some women and men don't know because they sleep with multiple people. So you really don't
Yeah,
know
but
who give who what.
no,
So who you kill?
I'm not saying no. I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about how how I think it should be. You
Oh
should
yeah,
have
yes,
a
yes, yes, yes.
you should have something that displays your condition that
Sure,
is educated in the public, like it's
sure,
on the
sure,
public, and the rubber band is being displayed on TV. Everybody know what the rubber band looks like. Everybody knows is educated and is recommended to have remorse for these people and not discrimination. If you mean so, you can be friends, shake hands, and all that, and you can even go ahead and be intimate because you can use condom or protection and do what you're doing at your own risk. You feel me? And you knew before whatever. So that's what I'm saying. You feel me?
yeah, yeah.
And things would slow down a bit, man.
What I think is your initial point, Icon Fire. I think that the just like the COVID virus, I think that someone is trying to keep the human population down for whatever reason. For whatever reason, and we could go into a rabbit hole with this discussion, really
Look
and
look
truly.
look look, look at this going on. Look at what's going on in Texas. You think somebody not doing that shit, man? Where are the doctors? What kind of doctors are those people in Texas? You understand what I'm saying? To have it rumored that there's a some type of infestation. So where are the doctors? Is no doctors there? What's the use of doctoring? Something's going on, man. And they and just like the baby mama that they made almost had a goddamn have the baby in the reception area, a couple, two of them, you feel me? Just like that, that's evidence that people are targeting our people. I'm sorry for FBA man, how they are trying to isolate themselves. Feel me? And they are being targeted. And that's what I'll be like, they're setting up their own people to be targeted. That's how I look at that. You feel me?
Yeah,
But go ahead, my people.
I've long thought about what I can would have brought up. But again, you're dealing with people like Bonner said, there's the profit model. You keep people on on medications for 30, 40 years. There's also and I don't think we take it seriously. There's also the population control thing that they have just
Of
embedded
course.
in it, that you gotta you have to cull certain amount of people for so-called national security, which makes no sense. But this is why, for the most part, when you look at these diseases that they weaponize and they let out there, where do they let them out? Places like Africa, the Caribbean. You know what I mean? Amongst Black America, we got to be honest about the demon that we're up against. Like I said, this guy in Chicago takes it off the books that if you intentionally infect people with HIV, you can no longer be handled as a criminal. That's madness to me. But again, coming back to the
That's
pathology,
terrorism.
coming back to the pathology of these people, that's what they want. That's what they want, and we have
That's
to.
why I think Bill Gates is a wicked. That Bill Gates Foundation, Coco. I think he's a wicked man. I think he is a
Tourist here, terrorist.
wicked man. A wicked man.
Oh, hold on. I think Bill Gates is part of the terrorists that has invaded the Sahel and Nigeria. You know why? Because Bill Gates is fighting a food war. That's why the farmers are eating down. That's why the the terrorists are making their cows eat the farmers' food and kill them from farming. So they're cutting down farming in the north of Nigeria. It's actually land theft, gold theft, wealth theft, but it's mainly to stop people from farming. You feel me? So they can send down their products like the fake meat and all that stuff that Bill Gates them is they supplying these terrorists with guns. I'm telling you, it's Bill Gates them
Not
and
only
those
that,
little
I want
faggots.
he big with that vaccination business. I think that he inoculating a whole lot of African people enough diseases. I really and truly, I personally believe this. Him that
Yes,
foundation. I think he's a sick man, man. I hope that the
yes.
Epstein business. I hope that really get him in problems, man, because he is a wicked man.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
man. Yeah, man.
In the chat, shout out to Lord of Slaughter who's in the chat. He says a house arrest type bracelet. Yeah, you guys believe in the bracelet. I'm telling you, man, when I was like 15, 16, I was like, they need to brand people. But because tattoos, people will tattoo over it. But I can make some point, you educate the communities, and people know what the penalties are
The
if you
rubber
go,
band. Yeah.
But the
Go
matron
ahead,
makes a
sir.
point. Shout out to the matron. The matron says, don't forget they have PrEP, which is a lifelong medication you take to prevent from being infected. So again, it goes back to what Buana was saying. Thank you, matron, and a lot of stuff for being here. Goes back to that whole thing of, it's an economic thing, it's a population control thing. Like when you talk about Bill Gates and India and Africa and stuff, these guys are killing people, man. These guys are killing people. But that was a good conversation, guys. For time's sake, let's move on to the next conversation. I'll be curious to hear what you guys have to say about this. I posted about it on the community tab. You guys make sure to check in with the community tab. Sometimes I like to hear your thoughts on some of those posts. Shooter Breeze sub number 3 says Julius Malema sentenced to 5 years in prison in firearm discharge case. This comes with 2 attachments. Let me find it. It's going to take us to YouTube, both of them. So this first video is the incident itself, where he was accused of firing the firearm. So we'll watch this, and then I'll go to the next video right after. Yeah, so that was the first video. I thought I had it lined up, but I didn't. But he was Malema was sentenced to 5 years in prison because of that incident, right? I thought I had the video where a white woman magistrate was listing off the sentencing and the fines, that if he doesn't pay the fines, there'll be another 6 months or 2 years and blah, blah, blah. But here's Malema in this video discussing the sentencing that occurred as far as the white woman is concerned, the magistrate. This is him talking about her. We'll watch it and then we will discuss it all.
Discouraged by a white magistrate who kept us here for so many years. She kept us here for so many years and comes back and blame us for disturbing the courts. We did not come to court on our own. She invited us to the court and we responded. You know, if you don't come to court, you get arrested. If you come to court, they say you are disturbing court. Therefore, you must go to prison for disturbing court. So we don't know what to do anymore. But that was not the law. That was racism speaking. Magistrate Olivier is a racist of note. And she must know that in her sleep, that she's a racist and she's possibly a member of AfriForum. That's why when you mention AfriForum, she can't hide her emotions. Yesterday, when SC Mugaitobi mentioned AfriForum, she jumped. But it was not Mugaitobi was mentioning AfriForum. It was the state which wrote in its head of argument about AfriForum. When he was responding what the state wrote, she said, don't bring AfriForum. And Mugaitobi said, I'm not bringing AfriForum. The state wrote AfriForum in their documents, and I'm responding to what they said. She said, let me read. By the way, she got those heads of arguments 2 months ago. She was not aware that by saying she wants to read inside court, she was confirming that she did not read the heads of arguments. She just entered court without knowing what is contained in the heads, in the arguments that the lawyers were putting before the courts. So we are tried by a magistrate who doesn't read, who read when you appear in front of her. Otherwise, when you are not there, she doesn't read the heads of arguments. If you read heads of arguments and someone says AfriForum, you'll automatically know that I saw AfriForum somewhere in these documents. And you can ask the question, where is that AfriForum? What are you talking about? We're tried by a magistrate who doesn't read, who uses emotions, who speaks politics, who says we are stopping people who are coming to collect maintenance, we are stopping grannies who want to come to court. But in reality, this court was never closed. The public continued to use this court. So she doesn't have any reason, none whatsoever. She goes around fundraising reasons why we must go to prison. They took a firearm which they say I used. She was not aware when it was mentioned in court that the firearm has been handed over back to the owner. She appeared shocked, but the witness was testifying for me, wrote about the firearm being taken away. She was not aware. You know why? She doesn't read. She doesn't know what is contained in the documents that are before her. So we are dealing with someone who doesn't apply the law. The law, whether you hate someone or not, you have to answer the question, what does the law say on this matter? She will not answer that question because she can't read heads of arguments, 21 pages. And those 21 pages are quoting the judgments which were written before about matters that are similar to this one. How can she read all of those judgments if she can't read 21 pages? So it's clear that even the law that we are referring to, she can't refer to it because her and reading are not friends. They are not the same WhatsApp group. She's the most incompetent magistrate who read a judgment for 3 days. It is never done. She does so because we suspect she doesn't write her own judgments. They ask a simple thing, leave to appeal. It's a simple matter. The state stand up and they do not say anything. You still ask for 30 minutes to grant a leave to appeal or not. You are not asking for 30 minutes. You are still going to ask your masters, do I grant the leave to appeal or not? So you are dealing with an invisible hand that is controlling the proceedings in that particular court. So we must make sure that she gets reported to the Magistracy Commission because the prosecutor knew about the judgment before she could read the judgment. A day before, she told accused number 2, you must go and fetch your gun tomorrow. And the accused number 2 said, you can only fetch a gun if you are not found guilty. How did the prosecutor know that accused number 2 is not going to be found guilty to an extent that he tells him to go and fetch a firearm? That's the first misconduct the prosecutor committed. The second one, which the Eastern Cape, East London sub-region must go and open a case of perjury. He lies in court yesterday. To lie to court is a criminal offense. He says, we gave the gun to accused number 2 after he was acquitted. When you said not guilty, that's when we gave accused number 2 the gun. But he forgets that when you collect a weapon or item that was used as evidence, when you collect it back, you must sign for it. There must be a date, there must be a time. So if it's 10 o'clock, they'll write 10 o'clock, they'll write a date. You look at the time of collection and then look at the time of judgment that he collected before the judgment was passed. That is the second misconduct of a prosecutor. But a prosecutor has got no duty to hand over the item which was used in court without a judgment of a judge. He gave himself a power he doesn't have. He took the evidence before the court and handed it over to accused number 2 without a judge saying you can now return this item back to the owner or you must give it to the state to destroy it. So he thought he's got the power he doesn't have. The only thing we need to do is to make sure that this prosecutor, who is arrogant and suffers from a short man syndrome, is taught a lesson. And we can only teach him a lesson by sitting on his neck and making sure that he's prosecuted and is arrested for lying to court and is disciplined at work for exercising the powers he doesn't have. And this magistrate must be reported to the commission. Why? How did the prosecutor know about the judgment? Because you are the only one who knows the judgment. Only you, the magistrate, could have told the prosecutor about the judgment. And to tell the prosecutor about the judgment outside the representatives of the accused, it's wrong. It's not allowed in law. If there is anything you want to communicate to the prosecutor, you must call the defense to come and you communicate in front of a defense. So clearly, you've got a special relationship with the prisoner as a magistrate, and that is a misconduct on its own. So we must make sure that we pursue her for being ill disciplined and having her power as a magistrate. So we are going to appeal this matter. We're going to make sure we go to Grahamstown, and we're going to dismiss a judgment which was poorly read and which was poorly written. She has granted us leave for appeal on sentencing and refused to give us leave to appeal on conviction. We must petition the High Court to appeal the guilt verdict and the sentencing itself today, because all they wanted was to have me sleep here for one night. But they didn't know the reason why the deputy president is not here. He is at Grahamstown. Because when you apply for leave to appeal and they refuse it, you have to apply for bail. She has a right to refuse it. Then you must petition the High Court, apply for bail at the High Court. So we've got the deputy president in Grahamstown with papers ready, so that when she says you are not getting bail, you are going to sleep here, the deputy president immediately files the papers at the High Court and make an urgent application. We are not small children. We prepare for any eventuality. If she goes this way, we go the other way. If she goes this way, we go the other way. Because we know that we are dealing with an invisible hand, and therefore you have to be prepared at all material times. The judge at Grahamstown was ready and waiting to listen to our case at 3 o'clock, because we had already told the clerk of the court that we are coming. Not only that, we had a chopper waiting at the airport for the legal team to fly immediately to Grahamstown. We are fighting the devil, and we must fight with everything. 2 minutes they must see you here, 2 minutes they must see you on the other side. That is the power of the EFF. We prepare from all the fronts because we are fighting the enemy, and the enemy is white supremacists. We can tell you now, no sober judge will ever agree that a person shoot one bullet and then is sentenced for 5 years. It is because she has not read her own judgment to know that a reasonable, normal presiding officer will never come to that determination. So, comrades, we are done with her. That's why when she said to me, you can leave now on a free bail, I looked at her and I said, bye-bye, because I've seen her ugly face for too long. So I'm going, I will no longer appear before that ugly white face. I'm going to the highest court where they don't use emotions, they use the law. What does the law say? And apply the law. So we must not even look back, we're going forward. The campaigns of the EFF must continue business as usual. I told you when she found me guilty that I'm going to appeal until the highest court, until the constitutional court. So those who thought they will have me in jail, you must know I'm still around. I'm not going anywhere. I told you yesterday that tomorrow I'm going home with you. And that's what is happening. Wherever the enemy is, it's highly paid by the fact that we are going home. We did not even have to pay for a bail. They just said, free bail, go home. So we are going home to work for the EFF. That's what home means. It means the work of the EFF continues. We are going to do our door-to-door. We are going to register those who are not registered. We are going to make sure that we win municipalities when the elections come. They are trying by all means to silence this voice. They will never win. Once more.
So I looked up the video again. Let me share this with you guys. This is the sentencing that went down with Malema. After we watch this, we'll discuss it all.
After careful consideration, and I can show you I have done so, free of any interference, this judgment or sentence is the sentence of this court and this court alone. In respect of count 1, you are sentenced to a period of 5 years imprisonment. In respect of count 2, you are sentenced to a period of 2 years imprisonment. In respect of count 3, you are sentenced to 20,000 Rand or to undergo 6 months imprisonment. In respect of count 4, you are sentenced to 20,000 Rand or to undergo 6 months imprisonment. In respect of count 5, you are sentenced to pay a fine of 20,000 Rand or to undergo 6 months imprisonment. In terms of Section 280, subsection 2 of Act 51 of 1977, the court orders that the sentence imposed in respect of counts 2, 3, 4, and 5 run concurrent with the sentence imposed in respect of count 1.
Is the court please?
You may be seated. Thank you.
Wow. Looks like we have a new person in the chat. Looks like a sister named Lisa Nicole. Welcome to Saturday Night Shoot the Breeze, a segment of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. I appreciate you coming through. A lot of comments. I'll get to them as much as I can in a few minutes. Just let me get through some of the panelists. I have a very interesting follow-up question to all of it. Without hearing anything from anyone, I have a very, very interesting follow-up question. I'm going to mix it up this time. Let's start with Buana. Buana, Julius Malema sentenced to 5 years in prison in firearm discharge case. What say you to all of it?
Okay, so this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think that the judge got it right in convicting him for what he was convicted of. Now, was the sentence extreme? Absolutely. I think that the sentence was extreme. Julius Malema, when he speaks to his people, he speaks to his people about prosecutorial misconduct in terms of him having a relationship with the judge and them colluding together. But this is, and maybe that's what they'll get on appeal on. But this is not about that. This is about whether he committed the crime itself. Now, Julius Malema is a political leader in South Africa. Julius Malema knows he has enemies. Julius Malema knows the South African law better than most people. If anyone was to ever watch Parliament in South Africa, you would see that the EFF, they know about the South African Constitution better than anyone in Parliament. They study that up and down. So Julius Malema starts to talk about law. Now, I know that Julius Malema know that firing a live machine gun or whatever that gun was into a crowd of people would have been an illegal act. And the fact that someone gave him a gun and him as a political leader thought it was smart to shoot it off in a crowd of people, even though it was over their heads, he had to have known that that wouldn't have been a good situation and outcome for him and his political career in doing that. He broke the law, and it's on tape. The fact that the white man who gave him the gun wasn't in the dock with him, that's another thing. Because I don't know why he wasn't arrested either, because he brought him the gun. But the fact that he shot that gun in the air, regardless, he would have known that that was against the law itself. So the judge is charged to figure out whether the man broke the law or not. It don't come in whether she racist or not. It don't come in whether she colluded with this person or not. It comes in, did this person commit the act or not? And he did. It's on camera. It's on camera. Was the sentence too extreme? Absolutely. But he committed the act. See, I don't mean to bring this brother up, but Umar Johnson say the reason why the school is not open was because of a Jamaican immigrant. A Jamaican immigrant is giving him hassle, so he can't get the proper permits he need to get the thing done. And he says, well, I believe it's because, he have an issue with me and he hate me and that. No. You have to do certain things in order for permits and procedures to pass. You know what I mean? You have to follow certain things. You can't blame the man personally for certain things you have not done or done and trying to make excuses for it. This guy is doing the same thing. He blaming race. It comes down to the fact that did you commit the act or not? Julius Malema, he does a whole lot of political posturing inside of South Africa. I've been watching him for years. His number two walk away from him and join the opposition party. His number three walked away from him and decided to go into the radio station. Very prominent young brothers. And this man is still standing up by himself now, talking what he ever need to talk. My thing is, either you're a revolutionary or you ain't a revolutionary. Julius Malema has not decided what he want to be yet. Either you're going to go through the right procedure, you're going to be a part of parliament and try to get laws passed, or you're going to go to Mugabe way, go to the bush, fight the boys, and take it. And that's even worse than a 5-year sentence. When the Nelson Mandela and Mugabe them was fighting against the boys, it wasn't an issue of them trying to get 5-year sentence for posturing and shooting guns off or whatever. What they was doing was life or death. Life or death. Either I can live to see a South Africa I want, or I can die fighting for it. You know, this man continues to posture like a revolutionary, but his actions to me, sometimes it seems like you just trying to throw a party and get the people them to excited, and then after that, you just making a bunch of noise. It's a lot of bluster, and I ain't seeing no real follow through. You need to, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? Do you want to be a part of the system, the institutions of South Africa, or you can go away and say, well, we're going to take it. We're going to stop asking for land. We're going to stop asking for this and that, and we're going to just take it. You have to decide what you want to be. And his enemies say, you know what? We don't want him to be publicly exposed. We don't want to give him no more public exposure. So we're going to use what the tools that we have to get rid of him. Now, with this sentence, if he is convicted, he can't go back to parliament no more. He'll have a felony on his jacket. He can't be, I don't know if he could be a political leader of that party itself, but he can't be a parliamentarian no more. You know, so you have to protect yourself in all the things that I would think you have to protect yourself in all the things you do as a political leader, and certain things are not wise to do. Now, he may have made a mistake, but this mistake may cost him 5 years. You know, and I'm thinking you should, in my mind, you should be thinking one step ahead of your enemies, you know, because then you know they're gonna come after you. But the thing in him getting sentenced, I believe, is in his own doing. His own actions cause him to be where he is right now, and he shouldn't have done that, you know. But I do believe 5 years is a long time for what he was charged of, and I'm asking, why isn't the white man brought to justice as well? Who gave him that gun to shoot off? He needs to be in the dock along with Julius Malema getting sentenced as well. But that's my views on Malema.
You know, Buana, I was reminded of there's an artist in America, black artist named Childish Gambino, and he had a song that was a big hit song called "This Is America," and in it, you know, there's a scene where he gets an AK-47, which is what Malema was firing, and he shoots it off, and no one talks about who gave him the gun. In the video, he just gets a gun from off screen, and no one talks about who gave him the gun. And it's the same thing here with Malema. No one's talking about the white boy who hands him the gun, then goes and takes the gun and does whatever with it. The white boy should be up there too, but that's not the follow-up question. I have a real good follow-up question is after we heard everyone. Real quick, Provide Triggers for Evolution, she did comment on the post I put up on the community tab. She said, my comments remain the same. This says much about power dynamics, about timing vis-a-vis Trump's demands about a year ago at the White House, as well as the future of the EFF as a major political party in South Africa. The sister Lisa Nicole says, why aren't the people protesting against his sentence? I'm sure some of our panelists are going to discuss that as well. Lastly, Provide Trigger says, this case is very disheartening to me as I travel to SA or South Africa regularly. The state of African governance is often very frustrating, and we need to do something to take our continent back no later than 2050. There's more comments. I'll try to get to them. Let me hear from all the panelists first. I Can Fire, what say you to what you just saw?
Yeah. it's obvious that it was bogus. It was a bogus situation, and it was a targeting and it's also political because next year is the elections, and it's between, to me, the winning parties is gonna be between the MK party and EFF, because nobody gonna vote for the DA in general. You feel me? And EFF and AES, or the ANC, I don't see the people would be like very, very stupid to vote for Ramaphosa. It must be a different person in his position, but that to me, the ANC couldn't win again. You feel me? So I think if it's gonna be like how it is, and Ramaphosa is not gonna step down, EFF or MK party gonna win. But and it's the case is bogus because he's saying that he got bailed out. You can't bail out a convicted individual. So he went above their head and used the Constitution to disregard their ruling practically. You feel me? So what I want to say is, on a more radical note and on a more psychological note, he lost the first election by the way he behaved. You feel me? He knows he have a xenophobic people to deal with, right? And then he stand 10 toes down on illegal immigrant, the preference of our pro illegal immigrant. If me personally, I would have ran a whole scheme to win. You feel me? If the people is saying, hey, they are anti-immigrant, I'm suddenly gonna become anti-immigrant. You feel me? In terms of, yeah, I'm gonna try to get a lot of them deported and all that stuff. As soon as I win, all that would stop, but I would go ahead and look for illegal white people and deport them. You feel me? Again, before the elections at that time, to me, I saw it plainly that there is no way they're gonna allow the EFF to win. There's a whole bunch of money in this whole thing. You feel me? And the white people control the money. So just like Guana said, it's like when it comes to South Africa, you really have to start thinking about taking the bush, because you have to dethrone white people in your country. You have to. It's like there's no other way. So I think that he should have found a way to the Ukraine war is going on. He should have found a way to send 100,000 or something EFF young youths to Russia and go train and go to the battlefield and harden up. You feel me? For the future revolution. I don't know if you all noticed that there was camps, military camps found in South Africa in all different bushes after the election. My assessment of that is the white people was training terrorist organizations in case the EFF win, they would militarily either take over or or destabilize the government using proxy terrorist organization like what they're doing in Mozambique. You feel me? So I think that they should have sent some dudes over there, because this election, I doubt if they're gonna win either, because these white people is going to start some type of war before the EFF win. Because the EFF is actually their greatest danger. You feel me? Their greatest danger is the EFF. You feel me? Even though I think he is reckless, and part of the reason why he losing is because he joined sides with the homosexuals. So that part he just disgusts me right there. You feel me? I don't know where they at. They just loose. He even stopped talking in certain conscious manner. You feel me? I think he's kind of softened. You feel me? He was never a real revolutionary. So I actually don't have no hopes, but he should have made sure, listen, Russia can send back 50,000, 100,000 hardened soldiers for him to hold off a section of South Africa for the blacks and fucking maybe confront these crackers in Cape Town. You feel me? But okay, that's it for me.
Yeah, but I can. You want him to get one set of crackers to subdue the other set of crackers in South Africa. That's the stuff. That's the stuff that me personally, I don't like that. I think again, this is where, and someone's going to talk about it in a minute. But this is where black men gotta step up. Well, where's the black men in South Africa to go and say, "Fuck that"? You cannot arrest. You are not imprisoning this guy. You know what I mean?
That's how I look at it. That's how I look at it. Outlaw, right? There is a traditional military structure that white people have in South Africa. Don't business about whatever nobody says. All white people have pure guns in their house. They are they are sharpshooters. They are all of that. You can't deal with these people the old way. You have to deal with them on the same level that they're at. And not only that, when it comes to Russia, right? The reason why I totally respect Russia is nobody speaks Russian. There's no section of Africa that speaks Russian like how they speak Afrikaner in and English in South Africa, right? So if you want to know who your enemies, just talk and you will know who your enemies. Any language you speak in, that's your enemy, as long as it's not your mother tongue. Any language you speak in, that's your enemy's language. And nobody is speaking Russian nor China. So I trust these people in terms of the what you call a option over Western Europeans and American armory. You feel me? So that's why I speak this way. You feel me? And also, go. Yes, sir.
I hear you, but uh, I don't believe that this one set of white folks is going to come and subdue this next set of white folks for black folks, for Africans in that area. I hear you about the language thing. I just don't see it. And also, I think it comes to a point where you just got to do it yourself, man. You got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to do it yourself. But I'm going to go to the other panelists and I'll let you follow up after I hear from everyone. All right. In the chat, Trigger Happy says South Africa is only a country that is black in composition, but not by control. Sister Lisa says, I can't imagine being the majority and not setting the record straight. Provide Triggers for Evolution says the black majority needs to take control of South Africa's jurisprudential branch. All this under a black majority in government. So right now, there's a black majority in government in South Africa, and this guy Malema, who some people have said believed to be an actor, he's being rolled out uh, he's being rolled out into court and sentenced to 5 years. With that said, Sister Cheryl, what would you like to say about this?
Oh Lord. Like, oh, do you know where to start? First of all, I do want to just shout out Malema because Malema is one of the only people on the African continent that's actively calling out white supremacy. Like he's like, put your foot on their necks type energy. Like he is that energy. He has some flaws here and there, but he is that energy that South Africa needs, apparently. I don't know too much about South Africa, and I'm being ignorant here, except for what I see when I be looking at Netflix and I see the movies and stuff like that. And I know about apartheid, I know about all of that, I know about all those things. But in terms of what's going on there right now, I don't know. I don't know everything. But what I do know is uh he's that energy. He is that, he stands up. He is literally he's a real Pan Africanist. Like he be standing up for black people everywhere. And the African Americans, Caribbeans, he see black people as black people. And that's, for me, that's very rare that a person, especially coming out of the continent, especially. So I give him his props on that. Now, the brother, he brought up something about Malema being an ally with the I didn't know that with the LGBT thing. My husband said something about that. I was just like, whoa, I didn't know that. That's a problem. Um, but also we got to take everything into account, everything that's going on right now. And someone said the elections are coming up, so um, they're looking to keep him quiet. They're looking to silence him, right? Because you got to remember, yeah, white people only make up the Boers there, or whatever they are. They only make up what, 7% of the population. They're like 83% of the population or something. Black people make up like this. There is no reason that nobody should have stood, that no black person should have stood up for this man. I don't. It doesn't. Listen. This is South Africa. It's 82% African black. You got Zulus, you got Sosa, you got all these freaking tribes there, and you got all these African people there. You telling me no one stood up? This like what is going on? No one has any outrage.
Going to prison.
That's why they need his energy, and that's why they put him up for 5 years. Forget about, oh well, if he's breaking the law, well, technically it's his fault. You know what? Black people can't just stand on the sidelines and just be like, oh, let me just follow all the rules. Let me just be so good, and the white people will leave me alone. No, we can't keep doing that. This is their land. This is not the Boers' land. So when Europeans are in their land and Europeans they do something against their laws, do they always enforce it? Absolutely not. So if he's doing something and in celebration, he didn't harm anybody, he didn't do anything wrong, forget what the law is. The African people should be the law. He didn't do anything wrong to anybody. Okay, no harm, no violence came to anybody. He was just celebrating. And like we can't keep playing good guy, bad guy. Okay, we just gotta follow the rules and everything will be fine. No, because that's never the case. When you follow the rules, you end up messed up anyway. So what is that? What is that? The African man should be the law in that country, but it's not. It's this woman, and I just looked her up. Her name is Toinette Olivier, right? She was the magistrate that sentenced him to 5 years. They need to get her up out of there. Absolutely, they need to get her up out of there. Like yesterday, because that's ridiculous. If she wasn't there, this wouldn't even be a problem. But it's a problem because the elections are coming up, and he's a strong voice, regardless of what he's done. I know he's done some things don't make sense with this LGBT thing. That don't make no sense. Maybe he is getting kind of soft. Someone said that. I agree with that. But this man has the energy that South Africa needs because I'm sure they have revolutionary people in South Africa, but it's not enough. Like he's that person, and that's why they're doing this. 5 years that's exactly why they're doing this. Come on, like we can't be on this law thing. Well, you violated Parliament, so therefore it's his fault. Well, it would never happen. If this didn't happen, they would have got him for something else. He would have did something else. They would have tried to get him for something else. It's always going to be something. Up into the elections, if they're going to try to get him for something. You can't just walk on pins and needles, just hoping, just doing the right thing all the time, 24/7, hoping that, nothing's gonna happen. No, they're gonna, if nothing happens, they'll make something up. And that's why you gotta get them out of there. You gotta get them boards up out of there. And that's the end of it.
I appreciate that, Sister Cheryl. That's the kind of energy I like to hear folks talk about. But again, I have a follow up for everyone after we've heard all points. Let's welcome in our brother Bakari this week. Brother Bakari, how are you?
I'm absolutely magnificent, man. Peace to everybody on the panel and in the chat. I'm gonna say what Bawana said made sense to a point about it's against the law, you got to follow the law. But then on the other hand, if you're thinking about revolution, you got to say the hell with their law. Maybe Malema was shooting that gun, and this is just me thinking from the outside. Let's see what my people gonna do. Right? See, here's the thing, and I listen to what everybody said, right? See, I'm not looking for no damn Russian or Chinese ally when you ain't got that. When we act like we don't have the sense God gave a goat to ally with ourselves first, but we want some outside to come fix you. There's no way Malema should be imprisoned, regardless of what they said. There's no way. See, I ain't even got to look for the white boy. I heard Koku say that. Ain't nobody said nothing about the white boy that gave the gun. You're right. But I ain't even got to worry about the white boy that gave the gun. What about all those black people? They let them snatch up Nelson Mandela. Stephen Biko was in South Africa, right?
Yes, sir.
And now Julius Malema. What's the difference in them now? The difference in what they do over there to black folk and what they do over here to black folk is over there we're the huge majority. Over here, we're not. But still, around the world, look what they can do to us. Do y'all remember that it don't make a difference who it is? That damn mountain of gold they found in Uganda, they had to give some to China because China said all of it should be ours because y'all used our machine. We just bend our knee and bow our head to any damn body. Anybody can just come push black folk over in a place where you're 88% of the population. And somebody, I don't give a damn how many times he done said something about the LGBT. I don't give a damn. Somebody who stand up and speak out, act like he want to fight for you. They've been watching him. They've been coming after him. And y'all will let them just put him, 88% of the population, and y'all would just let them put him into the disrespect that black folk take, then turn and want to fight one another. The damn lunatic in office here, his friend, the guy that bought Twitter, refused to shake the South African president's hand. In whatever meeting they was in, he was still allowed to be there. He was still allowed to be there. This is why, and I'm going to say this and stop. This is why, Ain't nobody, none of you, because I call it the black KKK, the coons, clowns, and cowards. That's why can't nobody get me on social media to start talking negative about black women when black men take this type of disrespect from other men all around the damn world. Anybody can treat us any way they want to. Anybody. We ain't let our nuts hang yet. We talk shit to each other. Man, I hear the mic, man.
I can tell the frustration within Brother Bukhari. Now, I'm going to let everyone who wants to give a follow-up to this have at it. I see some people had some comments towards Buana in the chat and stuff like that. But, as Gaviites, Gavi once said himself, and you guys tell me in your responses if you agree or disagree, Gavi said that we should respect the laws of the land. Is this a case where we disagree with Gavi, or do we agree with Gavi in this manner? I'm going to let Buana go first because a lot of the comments was directed towards him, but I know Aiken has stuff to add after probably Bukhari and Sister Cheryl. So Buana, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not an issue of respecting the law or whatever. When Nelson Mandela came to office, they decided to go to a vote. Nelson Mandela said he wanted a rainbow nation. A rainbow nation included white people to live inside of that nation, Indian people to live inside that nation, and a majority of black people live in that nation. So it turned from a white law or white laws of the country, which many of them they got rid of in terms of apartheid, to the country was a rainbow nation. The white people didn't decide that. The black people decided to have a society like that. The black people. Julius Malema is a parliamentarian. Parliamentarian, what do? They create laws and they say, we don't want these laws. If you want to live in the society without certain laws being on the books, you go before you bring a bill to parliament and you get rid of that law. So you could shoot as many AK-47s in the air as you wish to. Julius Malema participates in the making of laws as a parliamentarian. If you don't want that law there, then get rid of it. If you don't want to follow the laws and rules of your country, don't sit in parliament. Because if you sit in parliament, you're agreeing to be subject to the laws of that nation. You're agreeing to it. If you want to be a revolutionary and upset the apple cart and change the nation or whatever, you go to the bush and say, we don't like the parliamentarian system. We don't like the laws and rules of South Africa. Therefore, we're going to create another kind of situation here. You can't have it both ways as a parliamentarian, sitting in parliament, agreeing to the laws of a country, and then being a revolutionary on Friday and say, oh, we're going to act like this and we're going to do whatever the hell we want to do. It doesn't work that way. Jacob Zuma, the former president of South Africa, was sent to prison because of the corruption he was doing inside South Africa. He was breaking the laws of the country. He wasn't breaking the white laws or the black laws. He was breaking South African laws. So he went to jail because of the crimes he was committing in South Africa. If people don't want law and order in their society, fine, get rid of it. Fight against it. Be a revolutionary. But don't sit in parliament and tell me one day we're going to follow these laws, because he's heavy on law and order in parliament and rules of procedure in one instance. And in another instance, the hell with the white man law, the hell with the laws of the country, we're going to do whatever the hell we want to do. You'll have chaos in your society. And this is not a motive. It's something that you either want or you don't want. It's nothing to be emotional about it at all. You know what I mean? If you want laws of the country that permit you to shoot guns in a crowded space, then bring the bill as a parliamentarian and say, well, we don't want this law anymore. See, when this is the black man thing. The black man say, F the law, we gonna do whatever the hell we want to do. And then when the society become chaotic, they say, well, look how the black man has run this country. He can't govern himself. Which is it? You can't have it both ways. What he did was wrong in the country he decided to live in. He decided to live in, and he decided to subject himself to as a parliamentarian. No one else did that. He decided to swear on the Bible or whatever it is in South Africa, how they do to become a parliamentarian and sit and be subject to the laws of the country. Now, because the law is working against him, we can say F the law. You can't have it both ways. I know I know people don't hear that, but the truth is the truth, man. I gotta tell you. If you're a revolutionary, you go to the bush like Mugabe did, like Nelson Mandela did, like several South African leaders in a different parts of South Africa, and you work for a better plan for your country. Don't sit in parliament along with the same people who you say oppress you and then say, well, okay, we gonna have it this way one day, and then we have it another way, and another day. Yes, you 80% of the population. You have no, you may be 80% of the population, but the boys in South Africa have 80% of all the guns and weapons and things or what they need to defend themselves against 80%. Pareto principle rules. Pareto principle. But like I say, I'm not trying to upset anyone tonight. Let's shoot the breeze. I'm just giving my opinion on the matter. I'll leave it there, Kuku.
Yeah. I actually think it wasn't palatable to the eyes. Me as a Jamaican, I know this type of vibe, and it is too hood. It is kind of hood. It's not a representation of what he does, and he should be more mature enough not to do something like that. Of course, as I said, it was a botch process, because he found loopholes around it, but he shouldn't have got himself in that position anyway as a politician. You feel me? And also, even for the revolution, more decorum could be upholded because of the security of the revolution. You feel me? And him what you'd call compromising himself like that, it stains his diplomacy. You feel me? And I didn't like that, but it shouldn't be such a gross charge for his status. You feel me? But anyway, as I said, this to put a positive spin on it, he's not going to get locked up. I don't see it. He spoke, and he said that, hey, we're gonna go on the EFF mission, and so I there's hope still. You feel me? I think he needs to take things more serious and more revolutionary, because to me he's getting soft, and he's getting what you'd call overwhelmed by the onslaught of evil. You feel me? Such as he got caught up in it. You feel me? How you have a white man handing you a pistol in the crowd of your own people. It's like who are your friends? What are you doing behind the cameras? Are you and white people so much friends that he be handing you pistols? It's like, what kind of people are we dealing with, man? Feel me? And that's how I look at it. Like, these people are not serious. They're not really. They should have their own black space where it's like no whites allowed. You feel me? In that place. It's like, and it's crazy in South Africa. I personally, on YouTube, anything called South Africa and right now Nigeria, I skip it. Don't want to hear nothing about none of the two of them. None of them. Don't want to hear nothing. Feel me? It's like hopeless. Both of them. That's how I see those two countries. That's it for me.
In the chat, thank you for that. I can find in the chat. Trigger Happy responding to my Gavi question says, in white man land, you need to be as quiet as a mouse as much as you can. Now, if we're being honest, the white man law got Gavi anyways, so this should also be considered. He goes on to say, I think there's something to say about maneuvering the law and being technical and precise, but understand that they will get you for even sneezing. That's how much they will manipulate. Real Black Gentleman says, I'm a rebel. Soul Rebel, Little Bob Marley. Provide Triggers asks a question. Are we then justifying the FBI's neutralization of the Black Panther Party because they carried guns for self-defense? Lord of Slaughter says he's not a rebel, he's a renegade. What else? What else was there? Earlier, Sister Liza, I hope I'm saying that right. She mentioned that if FBAs had the majority, right, or she called it ethnic Americans had the majority, there'll be some straightening out. And I think that's kind of the frustration is you black folks are the majority. Just say hell, just say hell no to that and push back, fight back. As Buana would have said in the past, throw the stone. So anyway, let me continue with you guys on the panel. Cheryl or Bakari, who wants to speak next?
I'll go.
Yes, okay, Cheryl, go ahead.
So I just want to say something I didn't say earlier that kind of concerned me. And like, okay, so someone, I think Barnes said something about Mandela going to the bush and being revolutionary. That's a negative. He was you can't be a revolutionary and an integrationist. And I think that Malema, just from what I was listening to, he sounded like he was a little soft shoe. He was like he was soft shoeing a little bit for the white woman. He was just like, oh, well, she doesn't. There's so many words. He said she don't understand the law and something about he was just making excuses for her. I'm like, I don't know if I heard that right. I don't know. It sounded like he was kind of like, well, she doesn't know, so that's why we have to teach them. No, no, that's civil. That's like that's integrationist talk to me. Like I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where he's standing. His politics. He speaks up for black people, and that's great. Like I'm always gonna like big up him for that. But like was it Ecan Fire? Like I think he hit the nail on the head with this one. You gotta look at people's politics, and if they're into uh defending people, talking about oh they just didn't know any better. Oh the boys, oh they just didn't know any better. No, no, that's what we be. That's what integration is. Black people do over here in America. Well, black people, the white people, they just don't know any better. We have to teach them. They don't need to be taught nothing. Okay, if you are the majority in your country, you choose what laws will be enforced and what laws will not be. I mean, every country does that. Like I'm tired of people expecting black people to be like have the moral high ground all the time. I'm so sick of that. Oh, we always have to follow the rules exactly as they're written. When you're the majority in your country and you see that something is not right, when you see this board trying to give him 5 years, you speak up and you say something. It doesn't matter what kind of law is put in place. You're the majority, and the same goes for America. When white people choose all the time what laws they want to enforce, it doesn't matter if they did something wrong. It doesn't matter if the white boy ran up into the church and shot nine black people. If he's not going to get the maximum sentence, he's not going to barely get anything. Okay, and that's how you have to be with them in your country. Okay, and he didn't even do that. That's an exaggeration. Malema didn't even do that. He just shot a couple shots in the air and didn't hit nobody, didn't hurt nobody, didn't do nothing. And they trying to get him for 5 years. Boy, if you don't get out my face with that, you gotta start like sticking it to them, like making these heads roll, because they always trying to find loopholes and stuff for them to do to you. So you're never going to be safe. It doesn't matter if you follow the law or not. They're always going to try to get you. That's why I don't understand black people like this that think like this. I don't get it. Like, if you follow the rules, you keep your head down, everything's going to be great. In what world? In what universe? I just don't understand that.
In the chat, Trigger Happy says, well, think about it. I think he's responding to what I had said earlier. Think about it. White people know that, so they're more organized and put more effort and influence in the subconscious thinking of black people in South Africa. He goes on to say, it's no wonder that South Africans are majority black, but they are highly xenophobic against incoming black people. That means it's working. So, a lot of slaughter ads, when you are in your country and the majority, the law is what you say it is. F the Constitution if I didn't write it. I like that lot of slaughter. Bakari, you want to add something here?
Something I said before I talk about our imagination, right? Can you imagine yourself winning? Can you imagine yourself being a revolutionary without saying but? I watched the movie. I think I was talking to you about this, Coco. I watched the movie Dead President. I know I've seen it several times, but I watched it again about a month ago. It's a made-up movie. Your imagination. You know, robbing that bank, taking them folks' money, that's a revolutionary act, as far as I see it. But even in our imagination, we can't win. He got caught. He going to prison for 15 years, probably added some more after. Even in our imagination, we don't win. So if you can't even create a scenario where you win in your imagination, how can we win in real life? We don't have a conversation about what we need to do without somebody saying, but if we do that, they're going to do this. The reason we don't build, because look at Black Wall Street. All of that is always in our head. All of that is always in our head. But then we go to, we need other people to do it for us. If we can just get other people to join us, because we need allies. But you can't ally with your damn self. But you want somebody else to come and be your friend. Black men gonna have to let their nuts hang, get suited and booted, and be ready to do whatever it is you have to do in a country where you're 88% black. And I understand, but want to say they got 80% of the guns. Well, we 88% of the population. We should be able to overrun them. We got to understand in war, if you want to take something, you want freedom ain't free. It's priceless, the same way your life is. So if you really want that, you got to understand, some of us ain't gonna make it. Some of us gonna fight, we gonna die, but our kids gonna be free. Our grandkids gonna be free. Breaking the law for your folks, those are one of the, far as I'm concerned, one of the greatest revolutionary acts. Yes, Garvey said respect the law of the land. Garvey understood the position that we were in here in America. Garvey also said one time during a speech, when he told them when the KKK, because people like to say he meant the KKK, and they forget when the KKK came to scare him and talking about what they'll do. Garvey said there's a lot of trees here for hanging, so let's get the lynching party started. He said if they're gonna lynch us here, we should be lynching them in Africa. You understand? Well, we are the majority. These people did a number on us. And I'm going to say it again. That's why I don't respect none of these channels, what these black men are on. And the only thing they can do is talk about what a black woman don't do. When the white man, the Arab man, the China man, and any other man on earth can come treat you like crap in your own land, can come to your neighborhood and treat you like crap here in the United States, can treat you like crap, but you had a damn nerve to act like you bad, to get on damn social media and want to ish on black women and get mad and say, you a simp. No, motherfucker. I ain't no simp. I'm that one who done challenged them. I'm that one who done stepped up in there in them damn meetings. He's a new black man. I don't plan to shoot back. I'm gonna shoot first. The same way I talk it here is the same way I walk it, just like I talk it. That's why I've been followed and followed and followed. That's why they followed me every day for a year. Start messing with my kids. The same thing I say. I ain't on here to fight black folk. I want to motivate black folk to understand we can do whatever it is we need to do and want to do without begging somebody else to come and help you. Help you with what? You ain't doing nothing. We helping them. They come sit in our neighborhoods and sell you that damn rat-fried rice and get rich. We ain't gonna help you with what we waiting on some. They took everything from us. I like to say they did a number on us here. They did a number on us around the world. They take everything from us. They took our damn minds. As much as I love and respect Garvey, I'll say the greatest leader ever walked the face of the earth. That's what I say, right? He said they can shackle the hands of men, they can shackle the legs of men, they can shackle the bodies of men, but they can't shackle the mind of men. I'd be damned if they have not shackled the mind of black African men. So I'm going to tell you again, but Wanda, you was right about what you said. But everybody up there who let Malema go to jail was absolutely wrong. Because if you truly want a revolution and you truly want your land, you're going to step there and say, come do it. I talk about this show. I don't know if y'all ever watched The Wire, right? With Avon Barksdale, Stringer Bell, then came in Marlo, Chris, and Snoop. I don't know if y'all ever watched that. But I remember them cops went back there to Marlo, who was the boss, who was one of the bosses. They went back there harassing him, telling them what they're going to do. Say, we're going to take you down. We're going to take you downtown. You need to come and go with us. Marlo saying ain't going nowhere. And as those three cops got closer, 2 white, 1 black, the 1 black cop knew what was going on. So he started looking around and he saw all those people that was with Marlo grab baseball bats and grab their gun. The cop said, well, the black cop talked them into leaving. Well, maybe we'll get you some other time. Sometimes that's how you got to be. And it's just that damn simple. Or we can stay like this. Or let's start imagining ourselves winning. That's why Bwana said they got 80% of the guns. I ain't in South Africa. But how many times do I sit on here and talk about how we should have guns, how we should be training? I've been saying it for years, haven't I, Koku? Been saying it for years.
Yep.
We ain't prepared. We ain't trying to get prepared. The only people we prepared to fight is one another. And some of y'all only prepared to fight black women. On that note, I yield the mic.
Thank you, Brother Wakari. What's happening here is we are coming in at not even at the beginning of the South African situation. We are assessing South Africa after the fact. South Africa was a country that had many revolutionaries in it who eventually did fight a war against the Boers in South Africa. They fight with Nelson against the ANC, and they reached a stalemate in South Africa, right? So Nelson Mandela, along with other members of the ANC, sat down with the who was the former president of South Africa at the time, called de Klerk. They sit down together and created a South African constitution. So it ain't necessarily a white man or a black man law. They decided to formulate a different kind of South Africa, apart from the apartheid state, which was in South Africa. So this came with the agreement with the majority party, black party in the country at the time. That's the laws that you're dealing with. You aren't dealing with white man law. You aren't dealing with apartheid law. You're dealing with the agreement of Asian people who was living in South Africa at the time, the white people along with black people. Now some may say the black man should run the country, the hell with you all or whatever. Now this was discussed. This was discussed in South Africa, right? But the majority of people, after fighting against the Boers, there was, I don't know if the South Africans was tired of fighting. I don't know what it was. But after they came out of that experience, this is what they decided in South Africa to do. Now, the difference between them, what happened to South Africa is interesting. And what happened to Zimbabwe is exactly what y'all explaining. Because Mugabe say, the hell with y'all. The hell with y'all. The black man will run the country. The black man, whatever. We don't have a rainbow. None of that bullshit. We see what Ian Smith did to Zimbabwe, and we gonna take over. What happened is a series of different things, and we could get into that. But I don't want to get into to what actually happened in Zimbabwe. Not only internally, like how when Idi Amin sent all the Indians out, and what happened to the economy. We ain't get it, but the external issues with the Zimbabwe government dealing externally with other people, not only in South Africa, but in the rest of the world. And what happened to that economy? You know, and the starvation, and now the fleeing. People decided to leave the country because the country, based off the economy crashing, they decided to run from the country. Now, I agree with you all, brothers and sisters. The question becomes, what was the black people doing prior to colonialism? Obviously, they created a system where they was able to farm their land and feed themselves. With the introduction with Ian Smith them or whatever, the economy turned from an agrarian economy where the black people was managing their own farms and things of that nature to commercialism. And then they was exporting food and for the exchange of money or whatever. When Mugabe came in, he said, bump that. We're going to upset this apple cart. Now, the Zimbabwe people who was used to commercial farming, when they took over them lands, they didn't have the relationship with external partners. They didn't know how to. This is an unfortunate thing with us. And I don't want it to happen, but this is what happened in Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwe situation. So I agree. You should want to let, like Brother Bakari say, let your nuts hang in the country where you're the majority of population. But there are some details in that discussion that must be, you have to correct. When Kwame Nkrumah decided to liberate Ghana, he had enough doctors, he had enough engineers, he had enough people to take over from the British where the country would still be able to function even if the white administration had left Ghana. This is why Ghana is still right now a stable country as apart from many other countries. There are some details that I don't want to jump and I don't want to get into the weeds. I'm just saying that I agree with you all where you all looking at the situation. South Africa is a little bit of a different scenario. It's a little bit of a different scenario, and I don't want to have this discussion coming in at the tail end trying to say, well, what is happening here? Why these things ain't happening? Why these things ain't happening? Why is this man being judged by this white judge, even though there are many black judges in South Africa as well? who probably would have given Julius Malema the same kind of sentence, you know, because they have laws in their country. But needless to say, like I say, I don't want to get into the weeds. It's shoot the breeze. Yeah, I want to shoot the breeze. I want to shoot the breeze. Yeah, but I'll leave it. I'll leave it.
Can I say something right quick?
Hold on, real quick. I just want to explain something too. When I asked the Gavi question, I just want to put that in some context too. Gavi didn't say that within the last 60 years. He said that 100 years ago. Meaning, we were, even in Africa, on the continent at the time, we were under the white man's laws. So I just want to put that out there, just to be clear. I'm not against what Gavi said, but I just want to put it in its context that when he said it, he wasn't just talking about America, but he was talking about all of us, actually. We were under colonialism. We were under other people's laws at the time. Bakari, but before Bakari goes, real quick, I have another topic here I wanted to discuss. You guys want to do one more topic after Bakari speaks? I'll take that as a no. Bakari, go ahead.
Well, what I wanted to say, when I was listening to Bawana, and he mentioned Zimbabwe, and he said the farmers in Zimbabwe didn't have the external connections, right? And I won't disagree with that, but I'm going to show you what they did. If people go back and look and see how Robert Mugabe was offering African-American farmers to come to Zimbabwe and pay them to teach the people to farm because they took everything from us. What they did was they put, sanctions on Zimbabwe, and no one would trade with them until they give the land back to the rightful owners. They said the white folks was the rightful owner, right, of the land. Now, this goes to my point. They put sanctions on you, and I know a lot of people stroke China and Russia. What were they to come and partner and say, we will buy your produce. We can work with you. They'll never know we're around unless they can get some out the deal. You'll never have an ally if you can't look at people that look like you and say, you're my ally. See, the sanctions would not bother no African nation, no black African nation, if the black African nation said what Mugabe said. When Mugabe said they put sanctions on us, if we of black people in Africa, if black countries in Africa start to work with one another, we don't need them. They need us. And what happened, the economy and everything got so bad. When I say these people are in it for themselves, all of a sudden, now here come Russia. Because he was also offering diamond mines to African Americans at a much cheaper price than he was offering. When Russia came in, because no African Americans came and bought them. Now, everything I'm saying was all on YouTube, and I'm talking about you could hear him saying it, not what someone else was saying, right? They were putting it on YouTube. So then all of a sudden, Russia come in. They weren't there to help. They came in and say, let us buy some diamond mines. So then they have to tell Russia, you can buy diamond mines, but this, the way the rules is going to have to be, the way you're going to have to pay the people, our people, 80% of the people that was in the diamond mines had to be Zimbabwean. You could not bring Russian people here because that's what they were trying to do. Zimbabweans had to be the supervisors. They had to be all that. But my point, I went through all that, but my point is, Nigeria should have looked at Zimbabwe and said, you know what, we'll work with you. Ghana should have looked at Zimbabwe and said, you know what, we'll work with you. Every African nation. But see, they have done such a job on us. We don't think we can do anything by ourselves. That's why we always searching out, trying to find somebody else who's going to do something for us. And sometimes we're going to just have to get up and do it and stop worrying about what they did in the past, what they might do right now, what they might do in the future, or is anybody going to help us? Is anybody going to do it? Sometime, man, we're going to just have to get up and do it, or the shit ain't going to get done. I hear the mic.
Appreciate that, Brother Bakari. Lord Assange says he just read an article that Israel has a law that prosecutes 500 children a year for throwing rocks. He says if you don't write the law, fuck the law. So Cheryl says telling Africans in an African nation they have to follow the law of the land when that law is juxtaposed next to Euro law, it's next level assimilation. You know what? Let's go to shout outs, man. Before anyone leaves the panel, I know
Okay, you had some people who wanted to continue.
People in the chat said
one more topic. People who wanted to continue. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, rock out.
One more topic.
Yeah.
One more topic. All right. Man, a really good conversation. I hope the brothers and sisters think about that conversation during the week. And when we come back around next week, 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm saying this for Sister Liza. We're here every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 8 to 11. Make sure to join us. But during the week, man, I want us to think about this stuff and come back with, with follow-ups, But in the meantime, the folks asked for another topic. Let's do another topic. Should be topic number 4, the last topic of the night. The immigrants are taking away the citizenship of the British. Wild. This comes with a link that's going to take us to YouTube. Let me make sure you guys can see my screen. It's taking a little minute, but it's coming. All right, you guys can see my screen. We'll watch the video, the short one. We'll watch it, and then we'll discuss it.
Malik, words of wisdom there from Germany, a pretty difficult place to oppose the government of the day, although not any more difficult than my own country of Britain. Hence my exile, hence the extraordinary decision that I just read about today. I'm trying to get him on the show on Sunday, of a former British police officer, 11 years in the British police, fell in love with a Russian woman, moved to St. Petersburg, works for Zenit St. Petersburg, the top football club in the Russian Federation, who's just had his nationality taken away from him. This is a natural-born Englishman I'm talking about. This is a man whose ancestors were with King Harold at the Battle of Hastings. He moves to Russia. He's a former British police officer, and he's had his nationality taken from him by a Home Secretary called Shabana Mahmood. Go figure. A Pakistani woman takes British citizenship from a natural-born Englishman and long-serving police officer. That's the kind of madness that we now have in Britain.
Interesting. That video is titled A Pakistani Woman Removes the Citizenship of a Natural-Born Englishman. Let me just go right down the line. Sister Cheryl, what say you?
I'm laughing out loud. I think it's hilarious. But on a serious note, like from a British standpoint, I can see how that can be concerning. But I mean, does Britain have a military? Like, where is that though? Like, if you're that concerned, but that where's your military? So I mean, I don't know, can they defend themselves? Like, look, that's a real question. Like, what if someone is coming into your country and there's an excess amount of people coming into the country that don't align with your race or your culture, and they're taking it over, you can't really blame them because you're letting them do it, right? So I mean, hey, you're not enforcing anything. quote unquote your country. This is supposed to be part of Europe. This is Britain. Like, what y'all doing, Britain? What you doing? And also, I sometimes I think immigrants believe more in Western countries than the people who live there, than the like this is like a perfect example. Like anytime you hear about education, anytime you hear immigrants or even just regular any black people, any immigrants period. Not we're not even just talking about just black people, like immigrants period. When you hear them talking about prestigious schools, when you hear them talking about the best place to make a living, they always talk about Western nations, right? That's and I think in that sense they believe more in those places than the people who live there. Because how are you not believing enough in your own place, the place that you come from? How are we not? How are and I understand how. I'm not asking how because I don't know, but I'm just saying just to pose it to everybody in the chat. Like we really have a sickness to where we think their stuff is better than our own. And if we just stay and we were collectivists and we went back to our own nations and we built them up and we supported people who did it, if we were not able to do it in that present time, then we definitely would have the upper hand. But we believe in their stuff. We don't believe we can we can succeed without them. And so I think that's why you get stuff like this. And then, well, he was talking about specifically a Pakistani person, and maybe they're Muslim. I've heard about the Muslim takeover of Europe, of certain European countries. So maybe that part is a little different because when they come, they bring everything with them that out of there's the year the Christians and the Muslims, they've been going back and forth for years. So maybe it has something to do with that. But just immigrants in general, we like not we, I'm not an immigrant, but black people tend to think that their stuff is better than ours. And the same thing in America, where you think the Catholic schools, you think the private schools are better than what you can teach your own child. And we just all around, we just all think that their stuff is better. So we just run off to their country. But this particular problem that they're having, that's their fault. That's Britain's fault. Wholly. That's they got issues over there. I don't know what they're going through, but that's their problem. If it's that much of a problem, you would put your military in place, and you're not doing that. So there's no reason for them to complain.
Appreciate that, Sister Cheryl, in the chat. Sister Liza says, I think this is very sad. They allowed a group of downtrodden people into the system for betterment. Then they double cross you. That's why their homelands are not safe and untrustworthy. Sad. A lot of slaughter said imperialism is hidden, but it's the real spine of the perceived economic wealth. He then says they mask the imperialism with religious bullshit. I appreciate those comments. Keep them coming as we get through this last topic tonight. Burbakari, what say you?
I remember I was listening to the great Dr. John Henry Clark one time, and he was talking about Gaddafi. And he felt about Gaddafi the way I felt. He let you know he ain't like Gaddafi. But what he said, what Gaddafi said that he agreed with was, he said Gaddafi was the first one who started, said that's who was starting the Muslim takeover of England. Say he said it out loud. When you go into these countries in Europe, because most of them were going to England, when you go into these countries in Europe, you get education. You don't marry their women. You keep your Muslim family. If you don't come back home. You have joined the other side. So they said we might not defeat them in a war with bullets, but we will take over their home with just sheer numbers, right? So it seemed like that's what's happening. It seemed like that's what's happening in in England, and they're complaining. And Cheryl say England have a military. Actually, Cheryl, they do have a military. I would say everywhere the U.S. fight, they fight, but they ain't fighting with the lunatic in office. But yeah, they have a military.
It must
They
be a
have
small military.
no, but they have a military though. They have a military.
Barely.
Like they were over in Afghanistan and Saudi with the U.S. Yeah, they have they certain U.S. military groups go to England and train. Actually, they'll go there to train them, like some of our Marines, some of the U.S. Marines, some of the U.S. Army Rangers. They would go over there and train them. Should I say barely? But yes, but they do have one. I didn't say it was no big bad military. I'm just saying they do have one. But yeah, but that's what I think about that. Those people, they stuck to their guns. They say they're Muslim. So Muslim is gonna take over. Then a lot of our people that's Muslim, their Islam come before their race. On that, I get a mic.
I remember that Dr. John Henry Clark statement as well. Yeah, he did say, he said, you're not gonna make an arrow between the legs of a white woman, man. With that said, and by the way, a lot of Slaughter also holds Dr. Clark as his favorite grandmaster. With that said, I can fire. What would you like to say to Shooter Breeze topic number 4?
Yes, Coco. I don't have a lot to say, but even they even banned. I think they banned Jamaica and some other countries for whoever had voted pro with against the or with the UN in the UN whatever, you feel me? So they said they are banning, and I don't know who the foreign minister is. I think he the foreign minister. He was a whole Sri Lanka dude. He's from Sri Lanka, and he's saying that him or I don't know, the UK is banning Jamaicans from getting visas or whoever was associated with the UN resolution. You feel me? The one that just the other day. So yeah, they have. I don't think they have nobody left over there. I actually don't think they can even decline the process that's going on, right? They ain't nobody over there. They all dying out. You feel me? I think it's less than 400,000 white people in Europe, and half of them, or more than half of them, is over 45. They all dying out, goddamn it, and they're the ones who killing themselves because of greed. They don't want to share with their children, so they kill the children. That's it for me. Good night, my people, and respect to Miss Cheryl, respect to Guana, respect to my big brother Bukari, no, my little brother Bukari, you feel me? And respect to Coco.
Appreciate that. I can fire. With all that said, Bueno, what would you like to say to all of it?
Yeah, I have a mischievous question. So they tell me that the South Africa is majority black, so they should define the rules. So since England is majority white, and based off of the ruling of this immigrant person, they should throw her out of office on her backside and tell this white man, "Oh, we can give you British citizenship," despite what the judge say. I wonder if they could do that in England. Who knows? Who knows? But what's interesting though, is as Shirley was saying, immigrants have this idea of the dream that they are sold in terms of when they travel into other countries. They have this dream and they become the dream. When they go to Britain, they become more English than the English. When they go to America, they become Americanized and become, I'm gonna say, more American than Americans. But it's interesting the feature of immigrant populations when they move into an area. There is a lady right now in the UK. Her name is Kemi Badenoch. She is a person who is from no, she ain't from Nigeria. Her parents are from Nigeria. She was raised in the United Kingdom, and she is the leader of the Conservative Party in the UK. And she is more right wing than she would make Candace Owens blush. Her politics, her politics is more so extreme that she would make Candace Owens blush. Black woman. And it's interesting the feature when it comes to immigration, when people move into a territory or whatever, they become so extreme. Not everyone now, because you always have Gaviites. So not everyone. But it's just an interesting idea and feature when it comes to immigration and when people move from one place to another. They be sold the dream. Big time. But that's really all I wanted to rock on with this conversation. But I curious to know that since the British is the whites in England is the majority population, they should really just dismiss this judge's or what's the secretary opinion and just still grant this white man citizenship, despite the fact that this lady was able to this Pakistani lady was able to take citizenship away from this white man. I find that interesting, but I'll leave it alone.
Appreciate that, Buana, man. That's the show for tonight. But before we leave, let's do our shout outs, if you guys don't mind. Let me just go down the line. Sister Cheryl, what would you like to shout out this week? Sister Cheryl probably stepped away. Bakari, what would you like to shout out this week?
Shout out to the chat. Shout out to the panel. And Icon File, he's my big brother. So shout out to my big brother, Icon File. And of course, he's my big brother. So shout out to my big brother, Icon File. So, because he called me little brother. So, and of course, the host. This was a good live, man. I appreciate you hosting it. And I want to give a shout out to all the shout outs that I'm going to be shouting out in the future. Peace.
Well done, sir. Buana, what would you like to shout this week, brother?
This may seem strange, but I just saw this. Shout out to the United States Congress. The United States Congress has permitted the Haitians who were on TPS, they extended their time to remain in the country, in the United States, and with the support of the Democrats and several Republicans. So they decided to extend the time of some Haitians who currently reside in the country, so that maybe they didn't think the Haitians was eating cats and dogs, because now they're permitting some Haitians to stay. So this whole Trump thing seemed to be waning since the Democrats was able to get support of Republicans to cause so many Haitians to remain in the country and carry on business in the country. So shout out to the United States Congress. Who knew? Who knew? I'll leave it there.
All right. Like I said, that's our show tonight. Sister Liza says, great live. Good night. Hopefully you'll join us again in the future. Trigger Happy 262 Plus says, shout out to Traore for banning NGOs. I saw that. That's good stuff. For banning NGOs and civil society organizations in Burkina. That's good stuff as well. Lot of Slaughter in the chat says, shout out to the AES. Liza says, congratulations on 3 more years to the Haitians. I appreciate that. Everyone. My shout out to you guys. You guys made tonight real good conversation. I like, shout out to Liza as well. Liza, I'll be curious to know how you came to find the show. You could drop it in the chat. I'll see it before I close out tonight. But my shout out is to all of you. You have some homework. Let's think about this problem that we're witnessing right now in South Africa. And let's try to come up with some solutions that we can apply to our own situations wherever we are. How do we gain control? Or how do we get to the mindset that we want control? That we want control. So shout out to that thinking. We will be back next Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I hope to see all of you again next week. Let's have a great show next week as well. Until then, man, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.